was heaven. part that's producing hail, and you sometimes can be lulled into thinking, oh, I can get out and about and take care of some last-minute things.
A tornado warning has just been issued.
Tornado warning. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, this is for Polk and San Jacinto until 1:15.
So that's going to be the storm up here. Looky there. There it is. So we now have a tornado warning. These are the storms that we've been watching that earlier were severe on the north side of Houston, Harris County. It looks like this is a radar indicated one. Has the printout come out on that one, Kevin?
No.
No. Okay. We'll get the direct information there from the Weather Service, but this is most likely a radar indicated tornado. We'll turn on the velocity mode. It's a little difficult to tell because this is again getting outside the range of our radar, but we are definitely seeing signs of rotation here to the northwest of Shepherd. This tornado warning is in effect until 1:15. And so that is one warning we're watching. We're also watching the severe thunderstorm warning that's off to the southwest of Houston and Harris County. So, Kevin, have you been drawing up some information on the storm to the southwest?
I have.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get the latest track on this tornado warned storm. That is the tornadic part of this is between Cold Spring and Shepherd as it moves off in a northeasterly direction. And also, if you wouldn't mind getting a crawl going on onto TV to let the folks know up there in San Jacinto, Polk counties that they are now under a tornado warning. So this is just to the north of Shepherd, where we have this potential rotation that could produce a tornado from the storm that has popped up here in the eastern part of San Jacinto County. Storm motion on this one is moving northeast at 35 miles per hour. And so I will draw a future track on this one, moving northeast at 35, so we can get a feel for who this may be impacting next. Whoops, let me clear that out. And I'm going to kind of move the view, and let's go. This is the part of the storm that could potentially be producing a tornado as it tracks off in that northeasterly direction at 35 miles per hour. So this is bearing down on Shepherd right now. Those of you that are with us in Shepherd, you need to be in your safe spot. We just talked about if anyone goes under a tornado warning, get in the lowest level of a building that you're in the interior rooms, away from the outside walls that touch the outside air. So you want to be in a small room like a bathroom, a pantry, or a closet. Next up is going to be Urbana at 1240, then into Ace at 1250, Segno at 105. Thankfully, this is moving through a fairly rural part of southeast Texas. But we know that there are those of you that still live here, and you depend on us like everyone else to let you know what's going on. So I'm going to zoom down a little bit more and clear off this storm track to kind of give you a feel for where the potential rotating part of this storm is. This would be on the north side of Shepherd around FM 222, moving towards Highway 59, where you see this curvature in the storm. That's where there's the potential, where there's kind of this curved nature right here. That's where the part of the storm is rotating and could possibly be producing a tornado on the north side of Shepherd. So as it crosses FM 222 and moves toward 59, be on alert that you are under this tornado warning until 1:15. Now, Kevin, do you have more information on the storm southwest of Houston?
I do, yeah. I've been watching that one. And just as David was talking about, I think we have seen those two cells merge into one larger storm now.
Okay, and which max box are you working off of?
I am on 5 currently.
You're on 5. Okay, I'm going to go over here and do something so that when they pull you up, we'll see the monitor behind you, what it is that you're looking at. There we go. Okay, we can go to Kevin Ross' view now, and he's got to get us some more information while I keep an eye on that tornadic storm that's near Shepherd. Kevin's going to give us more on the severe thunderstorm that is moving into Wharton County.
Yeah, let's start here with kind of a wide view, and we'll go ahead and I think we can pop up radar directly, and I want to show you guys that, yes, it is quiet through Harris County now, but we are surrounded now by a tornado warning to our north and east and a severe thunderstorm warning to the southwest. So we have multiple cells that we're watching, and then a dotted line, and you see that to the left side of your screen. You see this dotted line all the way down. It ends in that severe thunderstorm by Wharton. This is the front, and as this moves through, we're going to see more storms increasing and strengthening along that line. It is the southern edge of the storm that we are most concerned with. And so I put this track from the very center of the storm. That is where we're going to see the strongest likelihood of seeing lightning, hail, and the heavier rain. But the time frame here, you're looking at by Wharton, 1242, and that continues off to the north and east. One thing to note, this storm is moving northeast. So yes, Harris County is quiet now, but if this continues on the same path, this is the kind of storm that we will be dealing with in Harris County and potentially in Houston itself. So this is a storm to watch. That warning expires in 10 minutes at 1245. I would expect they will re-up that severe thunderstorm warning on that cell. As far as hail goes, here's a little bit of good news. Radar analysis is not showing large hail. I still think we certainly have the potential to see some large hail in that storm, and that puts El Campo pretty much under the gun, and then Wharton shortly there after that. Again, we have 10 more minutes of this warning, but I feel fairly confident they will be extending this warning as we're still seeing a lot of lightning strikes and the storm is still strengthening. Here's a look overall, and you can see Harris County mostly dry, but it's this dotted line to our west that you're starting to see form. These are the cells that will continue strengthening as they gradually move east. We also do, of course, have the tornado-warned storm. That is to the north and east, and you can see this little hook right on the bottom of that storm. We'll put it into live motion. That little hook right here, just east of 59 and moving up towards 146, that's the area where we're seeing radar-indicated rotation. That does not mean there is necessarily a tornado in the ground, but you need to treat this as if there is a tornado on the ground because it is a radar-indicated spin. And of course, with these storms, even tornado warning is for a small specific area. The tornado watch is area-wide, and we are all under that tornado watch until 3 o'clock. And as Travis mentioned, that means that the environment is primed for the potential for tornadoes all the way through the mid-afternoon. So everyone, whether you're under the gun now or not, everyone needs to be weather aware and be watching for this because we could all see strong, severe storms, and we all have the potential here for a tornado as this system moves through. Overall picture as Travis gets set up and
Just Travis Herzog here in the ABC 13 Weather Center. We are monitoring some potential severe storms. If we could pull up Max 4 and Max 2 on this video wall, that'll give me the radar source that I'm expecting to see right now. We have a few active warnings at the time. All of us are under a tornado watch until 3 o'clock this afternoon, and we do have an active tornado warning near Shepherd, northeast of Houston, as well as a severe thunderstorm warning off to the southwest of Houston, a really large, mean thunderstorm that is over Wharton County. We'll start off with that tornado watch, or rather the tornado warning. This is radar indicated rotation. Our computer data is indicating also the potential that this is producing some very gusty winds as this storm moves away from Shepherd now. Should be in the vicinity of Goodrich around 1245 in terms of the severest part of the storm. You're already getting the rain. You're already getting the lightning. This storm could also produce some small hail in addition to the possibility of a tornado and the gusty winds over 60 miles per hour. So this is moving off in a northeasterly direction. It does appear to be rapidly moving away from Shepherd. That's certainly some good news. So eventually you're going to get cleared out of this tornado warning. When you are under a tornado warning, you want to get away from the outside walls, the exterior walls of the building. You put as many walls between you and the outside area as you can and get into a small room like a bathroom, a pantry, or a closet. You want to get the whole family in there huddled up. If you have some pillows or some helmets you can put on, you want to get all that in there in that safe spot and wait till this storm blows over. And you can stream us on your phone. We're breaking into live TV right now. We've been doing a live stream continuously since 10:30 in the morning. So if you don't have the ABC 13 Houston News app, download that before the power goes out, and you can continue to stream us on your phone. Just try to keep that phone charged up as best as you can if the power does go out. And I know some of you watching on our satellite feed, when the rain gets really heavy, you lose our signal. That's the way you can continue to get information from us, is through the stream on your smartphone app. We also have new connected TV apps that you can also stream our weather on Apple TV, on Chrome, on Roku, on Fire TV. But again, if the power goes out, the smartphone is the way to go. So this is the tornado warned storm. It has moved away from Shepherd pretty quickly. Certainly some good news there. It's radar indicated. It's pretty, our radar hits pretty high up in the storm at this distance from the radar location. So we don't know if that rotation is extending down to the ground. We don't have confirmation that anything has touched down, but we treat it as if there is a tornado because of the strong rotation that we can detect. Meanwhile, over Houston, we're in a bit of a lull, but we are beginning to see shower activity flare up pretty quickly to the west. It just cleared out of Sealy and Hempstead, and this might be the last wave of rain for those of you off to the west here across parts of Austin and Washington counties. As this line comes in, it could produce some briefly heavy rain and some thunder, but right now none of these are showing signs of any sort of rotation and no immediate threat of severe development. This is a severe thunderstorm, a rather large severe thunderstorm. We've been tracking on our digital stream for over an hour now. It is bearing down heavily on El Campo with some very intense cloud-to-ground lightning strikes, so power outages are likely in this part of Wharton County, and it does appear that its motion is beginning to turn a little more eastward than northeastward. So you're getting some of the rain rumbles of thunder in Wharton, but it's possible that this storm skirts just to your south, the severe part of the storm, and cuts south of Wharton, in between Wharton and Bay City. So we're keeping an eye on this thunderstorm because this one does have the potential to rotate and eventually produce a tornado. We are all under a tornado watch until 3 o'clock this afternoon. In addition to the possibility of tornadoes, there could be up to tennis ball size hail. We've already seen confirmed golf ball size hail that has popped up, and there could be these wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour in any severe storm that pops up. Now, the vast majority of us are not going to encounter severe weather. We're all under the watch because the ingredients are there for any storm to quickly turn severe. At this time, the only severe thunderstorm warning is what we are seeing currently here to the southwest of Houston. We're slicing through this storm as it builds up into the atmosphere. Meteorologist Kevin Roth is in the Weather Center as well, and meteorologist David Tillman is en route to this thunderstorm in our storm tracker. David, can you give us the latest on what you're seeing with your eyes on the ground from this dangerous storm that has moved into Wharton County?
Okay, Travis, we just passed through the town of Wharton just a moment ago, and so we're starting to get into what I would call some moderate rain, and I would say in another 2 to 3 minutes we're going to be in some heavy rain, and maybe another 2 or 3 minutes after that we might even encounter some hail. Our plan at this time is to get to El Campo and then go south on Highway 71. And I know what you're thinking, Travis. Well, you're going to be in the core of the storm. Yeah, we will be in the core of the storm coming up here for a short period of time, but we hope to get south of the storm after that, and then we'll loop back around it as it continues moving to the east and northeast. As you said just a moment ago, it appears that the storm is moving a little bit more east than what it was earlier. Earlier, it was tracking right up Highway 59. Now it appears that the core of the storm is moving a little bit more east. So that would basically take it in the general direction of south of Wharton, okay, and then over to the over to just north of Van Vleck, okay, and eventually over towards Damon and West Columbia is where this storm appears to be heading towards. Luckily, the reason I decided to go to El Campo and then go south was because the hail size in the storm appears to have gone down just a little bit, so I'm not as concerned about us having a problem with, say, some damage to the vehicle due to hail or anything like that. And as I check the rotation right now, we're not seeing strong rotation, but we still do see the weak mid-level rotation that we've been following for quite some time. So what we've done, again, we are south of Wharton. We are almost into El Campo at this time. We're getting closer and closer to the core of the storm. Things are probably going to get fairly rough here coming up in another 2 to 3 minutes and then lasting for another 10 minutes after that. And then we'll come out of the south side of the storm and see what we see to see if we see any rotation in that particular area. And then we'll loop back around and we'll meet up with the storm again as it's moving just north of Bay City.
Thank you for that, David, and we'll stay safe out there, and thank you for giving us that eye and perspective on the ground. So this severe thunderstorm warning is going to expire in about a minute. We're going to go back to a live stream for this one and for this tornado-warned storm that has quickly moved away from Shepherd. I do want to let you know that as we've been talking about, this severe thunderstorm is one to definitely watch. We've also got a wave of rain coming in from the west, and when you look at our future track, it is picking up on that severe thunderstorm, and it is turning it a little bit now to the south of Houston, that intense thunderstorm over Wharton. So those of you in southern Fort Bend County, northern Brazoria County, Galveston County, get ready because that severe thunderstorm may eventually track your way. You can go to abc13.com or you can go to our news app, and we are streaming live as well as on Facebook. You can get your questions in. Our anchor Erica Simon will be passing those questions on to us, so join us on that live stream. We'll pop back onto live TV if the weather warrants. Otherwise, join us on the stream, and I hope you have a safe and happy Sunday afternoon. All right, we are back now on the stream. and we have a new severe thunderstorm warning.
It's a continuation, essentially, of that last warning, the same storm.
Okay, great. So for those of you who have been on the stream with us, we just talked about how we were likely going to see a reissuance of that severe thunderstorm warning, and that is now the case. And Kevin, my computer is locked up a little bit, so let's get over to Kevin Roth from the Weather Center while I get my computer unlocked, and we will get the latest on that new severe thunderstorm warning. Kevin?
Yeah, let's go ahead and start with the very latest from the National Weather Service. The severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for the same storm that we've been tracking, the same one that David is on his way to go see. This is issued until 1:30, so this expires at 1:30. We've got 45 minutes of this warning. This is for Jackson, Matagorda, and Wharton counties. We're looking for winds of 60 miles per hour or more. The hail size currently mentioned is 1.25 inches, so 1¼ inch sized hail. That is large enough to be damaging, and I wouldn't be surprised as this storm has started to take that right turn that it continues strengthening and that hail size could grow. That is the primary threat at this point, but we have seen from other storms, including the one that has a tornado warning, that these storms can rotate, and we do have a tornado warning. This is to our north and east of Houston. This is for Polk and San Jacinto counties until 1:15. The important thing to realize here is that this shows these storms are capable of rotation. Cities included in this tornado warning are Goodrich and Shepherd. Now, this expires at 1:15, so 30 minutes away. The actual storm is already past Goodrich. So while you are technically under a tornado warning in Goodrich, you no longer have that tornado threat. The storm has already moved out to the east. It will be interesting to see if they reissue a tornado warning here. The other thing I'm looking at is this line, this dotted line that you're seeing kind of right in the center of the screen that's moving up towards 45. It's moving towards Conroe. This is that next area of development, and the farther south you go on this line, the more moisture and instability there is to tap into. And that's why on the very bottom of that line, that's where that thunderstorm just south of Wharton is really intensifying. Farther north, we don't quite have that same instability, but this is very likely the last of the thunderstorms. So if you are west of this line, this dotted line that you're seeing develop, if you are to the west of that, it's very likely that we're done with the severe storms and severe weather. If you are still east of that line, that's more likely, and I'm talking right here. I'll go ahead and try and draw a line for you. If you are east of this line, you are still very likely under the gun for severe storms as this entire system continues to move east. Each individual storm mostly moving to the north and east. The overall storm trend is moving from west to east across the viewing area. So areas all along 45, and right now, Katy not under the gun for anything strong, but this is an area where we could see more storms develop. So that is something I'm watching. I do want to dive in a little bit deeper here on this fresh severe thunderstorm warning for Jackson, Matagorda, and Wharton counties. This does include El Campo, Luis, and Wharton. And I'm going to put a track on this here, the latest. Let me look at the very latest. The latest I saw was north and east at 30 miles per hour. And now they're saying about 35 miles per hour is the current speed. So let's put a track on this storm right from the strongest part, which just now is south of El Campo. And we'll move this out roughly east-northeast at about 35 miles per hour. And that means Pierce, an area that's already seeing the lightning and certainly hearing that heavy rain, that continues. Lane City at 104, New Gulf at 117, Needville at 128, and Fairchilds at 134. One thing that Travis mentioned, and I completely agree with, is that this storm has started to take a bit of a right turn. And I'll go ahead and loop this for you so you can get an idea of it. At the beginning of this radar loop, this storm is mostly to the west, to the north and west of 59. As this loop continues, you'll notice the strongest part of that storm is now south and east of 59. That trend is continuing where instead of going directly northeast along 59, it's starting to turn more and more east, and that means that this is more of a threat for areas south of Houston. But everyone here needs to be ready. You need to be ready for the potential for some of these storms to cause large hail and potentially rotate as well. I do want to remind everyone that there is widespread risks with this. We do have the moderate risk for tornadoes, hail, and damaging winds. If there is one bright side to this, it is that street flooding is a lower risk. Now, if you are in one of these storms, It's going to absolutely pour. You will get some localized street flooding. But in general, the trend here is that this system clears out, and that means our overall flood risk is lower. But do be prepared here. Damaging winds, large hail, and isolated tornadoes all possible. I'm going to throw it over to Travis now for a wider look at what's going on.
Yeah, we're keeping an eye on things. Houston, that storm that was quickly rolling through San Jacinto County. That warning came out as the storm was near Shepherd. It's now no longer in effect. I'll go ahead and zoom down real fast just to show you that the radar has cleared out quite a bit. Still seeing some pretty intense storm here east of 146, but it's moving rapidly away and no longer exhibiting the signs of rotation that earlier prompted that tornado warning. We still have this severe thunderstorm warning that remains in effect. As Kevin just talked about, it does appear that it is now taking more of an eastward motion. So the worst part of this storm is now shifting south of 59. It looks like the worst of this will stay to the south of Wharton, and it will continue off in a more easterly track. So if I'm in West Columbia, I'm keeping a very careful eye on this storm as it starts to try to track that way. Even those of you in Bay City, sometimes these can take an even harder turn to the southeast. And so I'd also keep a watchful eye on this as you are right on the edge of that polygon that's been drawn. This is trying to capture the potential error in motion because storm direction can change in a situation like this. So that's why you see that polygon fan out in different directions. So keeping a close eye on that between Ocampo, Bay City, West Columbia, as that severe thunderstorm continues to track off now more in an easterly direction. These showers look real dark. They look intense on radar, but these are just showers right now. Occasionally a rumble of thunder, not seeing any immediate signs that that's going to develop into anything significant. And I'll show you why in just a moment on satellite imagery. But here's the broad view again. That tornado-warned storm is no longer tornadic as it moves through southern Polk County. This is the big one to watch as it tracks its way now crossing 59. Looks like it's going to cut eastward, perhaps into parts of Fort Bend County. At least parts of the storm will make it into southern Fort Bend County, but it likely will stay now well south of 59 as it tracks eventually into Brazoria and eventually Galveston County. So it does look like this storm may end up off to the south of Houston. This is our color-coded satellite, and I showed you this in the stream a while back to see for signs of any new growth. And look at how we've seen this really blossom up here, this thunderstorm that came out of Victoria County. And when we pause the satellite view, what you'll notice is what we call a V notch. There's this spread in these reds that goes out in a V shape off to the right. When you see that, that's a sign that the storm is well ventilated from the top, and it is potentially producing severe weather. So both on radar and on satellite, this is looking like a mature severe thunderstorm. And so until we see signs of this changing from outer space, this will likely continue to pulse up to severe levels at times. David Tillman has been driving into this storm. He just got into what's called the hail core, at least where radar tells us the hail should be coming down. And he says he's not getting any hail at this time. That was a few minutes ago. David, if you're listening and can jump in real fast, what are you experiencing now aside from all that heavy rain that we see pounding the windshield?
That's just about it, Travis. This is Travis I'm speaking to, right? A little
That's
hard
correct.
to hear
That's
with
correct.
all the rain that's coming down. But yeah, it is absolutely pouring here. I have not even felt or heard pea-sized hail. So we're getting heavy rain. No hail at this time. We're getting ready to get close to go south on Highway 71. So we're in El Campo at this particular time. And so we are in the core of this storm. Now, Travis, are you seeing what I'm seeing on radar? It appears that the Hook Echo on the south side of the storm appears to be tightening up just a little bit. Yeah, I think this is it right here. We may even be past it just a hair. It appears that the Hook Echo is tightening up just a little bit, and the rotation might even be tightening up just a bit as well. Are you seeing what I'm seeing?
Yes, David, we are seeing that. In fact, we're beginning to get an early indication of rotation on our radar with the shear marker that is popping up. So I'm going to pull up some information on that. If you're looking at our radar, you'll see this little spinning yellow arrow. And what this does is it assigns a risk level, a threat level from 0 to 10. 10 meaning that it's the highest risk level. The tornado threat is at a 4. The wind threat is at a 1. We are seeing the hail threat at a 6 and the flooding threat at a 5. And so this is a sign that we are beginning to see that rotation beginning to develop in this storm. And again, the radar view is kind of right on the edge of the zone where you can get that rotation. And if I get into this view right here, you can see a little bit better. I'm trying to get onto the Corpus radar, and there is definitely some rotation there south of El Campo along Highway 71 near the county line of Wharton and Matagorda counties. And so that's the rotating part of the storm. It looks like that rotating part will stay safely south of El Campo and Wharton. And so the worst of this storm is going to miss you to the south. It's going to be moving, though, off in an easterly direction, and we might see Bay City eventually get under a warning here. And then down the pipeline would be places like West Columbia and eventually towards Angleton and Lake Jackson. So this storm looks like it is going to stay south of Houston. And so that's certainly good news for those of us here in the city of Houston, but we need to keep a careful eye on it for our viewers to the south of the I-10 and 59 corridors, as this is a very powerful storm that very well could eventually produce a tornado. Now let me pull the broad, the big radar view out so everyone can kind of see what's happening around where you live. This is the only active warning that we have left, and we're seeing more and more of those signs of rotation. So that's one that we definitely are going to be keeping a very close eye on for a potential tornado warning to come out. We've had a few questions come in from those of you that are watching on our Facebook live stream, and Erica Simon is joining us at the anchor desk. Thank you for hanging so late into the afternoon, Erica. I know it's been a very early day for you. What are you seeing from the people on Facebook at this time?
Indeed, Travis, but we're certainly all in this together, and kudos to you guys for keeping everybody updated and safe this afternoon. We posted a question on Facebook. We wanted to know what viewers thought about everything that's happening. Kima asked, should we expect this for the rest of the week because temperatures will be high all week?
Yeah, warm temperatures can help produce storms, but there's more ingredients that you need than just warm weather. What we have happening today is there's a jet stream disturbance coming through the atmosphere and a warm front that's been lifting northward, and that's what's been producing our stormy weather. Those things move out of here this evening, so we're going to get a nice quiet spell. A little cool front will blow in tonight, and so Monday and Tuesday looking great. The next window that we're eyeing for an opportunity of severe weather is going to be starting Wednesday and ending sometime on Thursday morning. That's going to be the next potential round of severe weather. So once we get beyond the storms today, we catch at least a 2-day break, and then Wednesday we might be doing this all over again.
Okay, and we got one more question right now from Sherelle out of Barrett. That is south of Crosby. She says the sun is starting to peak out where she is, so she's wondering if they're in the clear. Are they done with all this bad weather?
That's a great question. And if you look, Sherelle, at the radar to your west, we have this line of rain that's still coming in. And so while the sun may come out and it's improved a lot from what it looked like earlier, you still have one more wave of rain to get through before you are in the clear. Now, we'll have to watch these carefully to see if they try to spin up and rotate. They're not showing signs of doing that right now. So at the very least, you can expect another wave of rain to pass through here in northeastern Harris County. And then at worst, we might see them try to spin up a little bit stronger. Doesn't look likely right now. Looks like the focus for rotating thunderstorms is going to be down here in our coastal counties. Is that it, Erica?
Yeah, that's it for now.
Okay.
But guys, we really want to make sure that we get your questions answered if possible. We know that some of these warnings and different radar systems are a little bit confusing for people at home. So we want to hear from you. What questions do you have for the experts right now? Hopefully we can break that down for you. We've posted that question on our Facebook page, but you, of course, can send them to us on social media or comment on that post, and we will try to get them answered for you.
All right, thank you very much. And yes, please send in your questions. And if you have any pictures or videos of what the weather is doing where you live, you can send those to us on social media as well. Now, I see Kevin Roth in the Weather Center. You're looking at the hail analysis on that severe thunderstorm that's in Wharton County. What's the latest that you're seeing there? Perhaps a confirmation that the worst of the storm is shifting a little more to the south.
Yeah, I have been watching this storm and kind of watching the two cells merge into one. Briefly, that hail was down, and it does look like it's starting to to pulse back up. And that's something you'll see a lot in these storms is they'll strengthen, they'll weaken, and then they will re-strengthen again.
Okay.
Remember, we do still have a severe thunderstorm warning on this for the next 30 minutes. This is for Jackson, Matagorda, and Wharton counties. It has certainly been taking that east turn or that right turn. So whereas this storm started moving northeast, it's now moving almost due east, at least the strongest part of the storm. And I do want to look really briefly here at the hail itself, because we're just starting to see a few brighter colors up to nickel-sized hail. We had David drive directly through the storm. He said he did not see any hail, and that is some great news. I'm not seeing anything here with radar analysis that would indicate otherwise. It is potentially some small hail, but so far no damaging hail with that. You still do have the threats here of potentially some very high winds, some incredibly heavy rain, and frequent lightning strikes. You do not want to be out on the roads in front of this. If you are in the direction this storm is headed and it is moving due east, you just want to stay at home and stay out of its way. It does look like this storm will continue to move east. That puts the threat of this particular storm south of Houston, but there are still more storms we're going to have to watch here, especially these storms that start firing up on the southern edge of this line. Travis?
Thanks, Kevin, for that analysis. I want to also slice through this storm again. This is that severe thunderstorm Kevin was just talking about. We're seeing a rapid shift of the lightning away from 59, so things are going to start improving pretty quickly here in El Campo and then soon in Wharton as well. When we slice through the storm, look at what we're seeing. We're beginning to see, as Kevin was noting, that we're seeing the hail threat pulse back up again. We're seeing those shades of pink reemerging as we slice through the storm, and it's hitting over 40,000 feet above the ground. That's the severe thunderstorm that meteorologist David Tillman is driving through. We have been noticing that the potential for rotation is increasing here, and it looks like they just maybe did an update on the severe thunderstorm warning. What's printing out on the printer right now, Kevin?
The very latest here, the severe thunderstorm warning goes until 1:30. It's a continuation of the prior warning.
Okay.
They have increased that hail size by 1/4 of an inch.
To what size now?
1.5.
1.5 inches. That's golf ball size hail again, potentially coming out of this storm that is now shifting to the south of El Campo. So if we've got David Tillman, let's go back to David as he is driving through and around this thunderstorm to give us a better vantage point of where we're seeing the potential for some rotation. David, where are you now?
Well, we're on Highway 71 south of El Campo, Travis. I'm looking at this on the radar. I'm looking at this on the mapping software here, and we are driving through torrential rain. Now, we still have not encountered any hail at all. No hail, not even pea-sized hail has hit this windshield. But the winds have picked up just a little bit. And of course, if you look at the velocity display on the radar, there is some rotation, which appears to be just to the south and east of our location. So we're being very cautious at this time to look for any signs that this storm is beginning to spin up. The trees are moving just a bit, but they're not moving that much. So I would say that the storm is rotating, but it's probably rotating still in its mid-levels, and that rotation hasn't quite gotten to the ground. But this is one tremendous storm that we're going through. There's quite a bit of rain. If you look at the camera shot, you can see that the rain is blowing across the road. The trees are moving a little bit, but they're not truly moving all that much. So I don't think we're having any major issues right now, but we will continue to monitor this.
Great. Thank you for that update, David. David is our eyes on the ground to give us a better feel for what that storm is doing. I want to show you the pictures from our tower cams in Houston and Galveston. It is a gray and gloomy sky, but a mostly rain-free sky. As we look live over the city of Houston, we are still seeing some dark clouds. The sun is poking in between, and a new wave of rain is on the way. Temperatures are currently in the mid to upper 70s, so there's still a lot of warm, humid air for these showers and thunderstorms to work with. As we look at our radar picture, there's only that one active warning, and that looks to be the one to watch. We are noticing some new scattered development that's beginning to rapidly emerge over Colorado County. For the time being, it looks pretty disorganized, and that wave of rain we've been watching that's moved through Austin and Waller counties, northwest Harris County, it's moving off to the northeast now, impacting Conroe, Lake Conroe, and towards Willis, and eventually will move right back up towards Shepherd, where earlier you had that tornado warning, no longer under tornado warning. You're going to catch a little bit of a break here, but we do have some rumbles of thunder and some heavy rain moving through Cold Spring. So the only active warning is that thunderstorm that continues to show that turn more towards the east. That's in southern Wharton County. That one is a very large and powerful severe thunderstorm. And even if it doesn't produce the hail, it doesn't produce the winds or tornadoes, it's producing a whole lot of lightning that could lead to some power outages. I want to take you back up to the northeast. This is where we earlier had that tornado warning. Again, that tornado warning has expired. A new thunderstorm has popped up just off to the west over Cold Spring. That'll move over the southern end of Lake Livingston. And this is our active severe thunderstorm warning. Now, as you've been watching the trend, and I'll turn off the lightning so you can see a little bit more of the pinks on the radar. The trend here has been for that pink shade to kind of drift off more in a southeasterly direction. So we've seen it begin to move in a different direction. So it looks like those of you in Wharton are going to be spared from the worst that this storm has to offer. I know a lot of our farming friends here southwest of Houston are still in a very severe drought, and you really could use some rain. We just don't need the severe weather to come along with it. And so that's something that we're going to be monitoring. We know you want the rain and need the rain, and we hope you get all the rain you want without any of the severe elements. One thing I'm also seeing is you notice that we're getting kind of this ragged, disorganized radar appearance off to the south of that severe thunderstorm. And so what that's telling me is that the storm environment is feeding more moisture into the storm, but perhaps it's going to knock the severe weather threat down just a notch. We'll see, but that is moist air, a continuous stream of moist air that is feeding in straight north out of the bays there and out of the Gulf up through Palacios and western Matagorda County. So we're seeing some changes. So if we continue to see more rain blossom south of the severe storm, that's a sign that it's beginning to compete for resources and may begin to weaken. So that would certainly be some good news there if that does happen. Also curious to note that we're starting to see the scattered shower development back to the west over around Colorado County. No signs that any of this is going to organize rather in any sort of a short fashion. But we're certainly seeing the rain that is still out there. So this tornado watch continues until 3 o'clock, but it does look like that threat may be winding down for our northwestern counties with the way that we're seeing things trend right now on radar. And Kevin, if you can pull up an ADI surface map of where the front is, what the dew points are looking like, and we can kind of get a feel for where the drier air is beginning to punch in. That'll give us an indication of who we can start clearing out of the potential threat of any storm. So let's look at dew points and let's look at air temperatures as well.
In the meantime, it's really starting to rain very heavy in Conroe and the Woodlands. Could you give them some reassurance on a day like today when there's so much severe weather that what they're seeing is very different from some of these other storms?
You know I love to give reassurances when we can, and you're absolutely right, Kevin, that these are some briefly heavy showers. Notice, though, it's just showers. You're probably not hearing any rumbles of thunder. We haven't had much lightning activity with these showers. This is a wave of good old-fashioned rain coming through. These are not at a threat right now, anyway, of producing any rotation or severe weather. Now, as you look on the left side of the screen, you're seeing the view that David Tillman has from the storm tracker, and it looks like he's about to emerge from underneath that storm that they just punched through. That's the severe thunderstorm that's off to the southwest. And so he's beginning to see some daylight and getting to the edge of that storm, and he's positioning himself in a spot where he can see if there's any sort of swirling in the clouds, any sort of rotation in that thunderstorm as it tracks its way now eastward through Wharton County. So again, if you're seeing the sun poke out where you live, we're seeing that in other spots as well. As the atmosphere warms up, it becomes a little more unstable. It's more likely then to produce a few stronger thunderstorms. But right now, this is the only active severe thunderstorm, and this is our big focus over the short term for potential severe weather. Let's get an updated future track on this storm as it continues to move off now in more of an easterly direction. And the storm speed, if I recall, Kevin, was 30 miles per hour in that severe storm. Is that still the case?
They bumped it up to 35.
35. So let's get the latest data in there. Thank you, Kevin. And I will go ahead and draw a new storm track on the severe part of the storm. So we'll draw from roughly where the hail could be and do it a little more easterly. get it all the way to the 288 corridor, so we can give you folks in the Brazosport communities a heads up of what's happening. So this is a track that starts with the severe part of the storm that could be producing some hail, and on the southern side of this cone is where you're likely to get the potential for some rotation should this storm show any signs of low-level rotation. And a live view of that southern part of the storm you're getting on the left side of your screen from our storm tracker with meteorologist David Tillman and our photographer Matt Black. And it appears that they are pulling over or perhaps turning around to give us a better view of what's happening there. So we'll get an update from David in a moment. But here's that track as it moves off now more to the east. The severe part of this, again, you're going to get rain and thunder before this. Oh, look at that. You can definitely see a lowering of the cloud base there with that storm that they're tracking. You're already getting rain in New Gulf. The severe part of that storm, if it's going to impact you, is going to be in about 20 minutes. Into Damon around 1:45, West Columbia 1:51, Brazoria around 2 o'clock, Bailey's Prairie about 2:05, Angleton right around 2:25, and Clute around 2:18. Lake Jackson, you would also be around the same time frame as Angleton, which would be around 2:15. So, David, if you're with us and can tell us, we see that you're kind of pulling off of the road here. What are you observing, and where exactly are you located in relation to the storm?
We are, well, I'll give an exact location, Travis. We are Highway 71 South in Danavang, and we're right behind the fire station there, and we just wanted to get a good view of the part of the storm that could potentially be rotating. Now, if you look over, see a darkened area. There appears to be heavy rain there, and we're right next to where the heavy rain is occurring and where there's a brightening there to your right. And you also notice those jagged clouds up above. So we're in the prime location for a tornado if this storm was going to produce a tornado. And at this time, let me see if I can roll my window down and get a better look at these clouds and what they're doing. Which way is the wind coming from here? Okay, so the wind is blowing where I'm located from the southwest, and the clouds, the lowest clouds, appear to be moving in a northeasterly direction. So that means if there was a circulation, it would be on the left-hand side of your screen, and we're not quite seeing it. However, we do see some low hanging, what we call scud clouds, those really low wispy clouds close to the ground, and we can give you a better look at some of those. Oh yeah, right there. Look at how low these clouds are. Right in front of us there, Matt.
Are they rotating, David? Do you see any signs of rotation in these scud clouds?
Well, I can't discern rotation, but they're very fast moving, Travis, and they're right next to where the heavy rain is located. So we're definitely in the prime location for if something were to happen, it would be right here. I'm putting my hand out the window, and it's 73 degrees. It's very warm, it's very humid, but at this time I'm not seeing any rotation reaching for the ground or anything like that.
Okay, that's certainly some good news. I'm trying to look to see if we can get a little better feel for where we are seeing rotation, and it looks like on radar we are seeing just exactly where you're looking, the rotation on radar east of Danavang, and it looks like it's kind of right there on the southern part of the of where we currently have the warning that's out. So the kind of the southern part of that polygon, and it's going to continue tracking more in that east, or it may even turn more east-southeasterly. So eventually, this is going to be crossing over Highway 60, I believe, eventually, as this works its way off in that easterly direction. So the focus here is going to be shifting eastward. But you are right. You are in that prime spot to be able to see if this thing were to try to spin up and eventually produce a tornado. You've got the eyes on it. What's your plan next? To where do you think you'll head next? And I am, by the way, beginning to see some rotation shear markers off to the east of 71 popping up on radar.
East of 71, okay. What we're going to have to do, because the road network where we are is not the greatest, we're going to go south. We have to go south on 71 and then hook back around, maybe come up Highway 35 towards Bay City, and then intercept the storm again as it's crossing Highway 60, I believe is what we're going to do. But we don't want to go back north because the rain was just tremendous. That was a tremendous rainstorm that we just went through, and we don't want to go through that again. So we'll go south. Looks like we'll get to Midfield, go east on 2431, and then we will get back on Highway 35. That'll put us at the Bay City, and we will intercept this storm again in the vicinity of Highway 60. But at this time, we're at what they call the downdraft, updraft interface, and we're not seeing anything reaching for the ground at this particular time. And so we'll go ahead and take off right now and see if we can intercept the rotating part of the storm a little bit farther east along Highway 60.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like the rotation is going to stay south of Magnet and end up somewhere between Magnet and Bay City is where that's going to eventually end up there along the 60 corridor based on what we're seeing on radar right now. So y'all stay safe, David and Matt, and we'll touch base again as y'all continue to track that storm. This is our severe thunderstorm that we are watching. The shear marker that's popped up, you notice these numbers on here. What that's telling us is on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being there's a huge threat, 0 meaning that it's not much of a threat at all. It's giving us a scale of what, based on computer calculations, computer algorithms, what the threats are with this. And right now the highest threat is from hail, and that's to be expected. This is why the warning is out, is the potential for some golf ball size hail. You'll notice though that we're also seeing the flooding threat and the tornado threat at about a 4, indicating that this storm could also produce some street flooding, and the computer is detecting that rotation and saying, hold up, you need to watch this one because it's possible that this storm could eventually produce a tornado. Now, if it does produce a tornado, it would be off to the east of Highway 71. So those of you in El Campo and Danavang, you are not going to be in the part of this storm that could produce a tornado. That has moved on off to your east. It's areas off to the east of here towards the 60 corridor that we'd be looking at that potential rotation eventually trying to track its way to your area. So this is going to track off in an easterly direction towards Highway 60, likely somewhere in northern Matagorda County. So that's why David Tillman is going to track south, and then he's going to head up 35 towards Bay City. We'll see what the storm is looking like from there. Now, for those of you, let's kind of give you a different perspective. We'll pull out from this view. What that means is that this storm is going to stay safely to the south of Houston and a lot of the surrounding suburbs. So this storm is not a concern right now for those of you in Fort Bend County in terms of the severe part of it. So if you're in Needville, Sienna Plantation, towards Pleak, Richmond, Rosenberg, Sugar Land, this storm is going to stay safely to your south. Same for the city of Houston and Harris County. This storm is going to miss Houston and Harris County to the south. This storm is going to track into the severe part of it into northern Matagorda County and eventually towards western Brazoria County. So those of you in West Columbia, keep a watchful eye on this one. Those of you in Angleton and Lake Jackson, keep a watchful eye. And even towards Galveston Island, this storm is eventually going to try to track your way. So this is the only severe thunderstorm we have right now, while all of us are under that tornado watch until 3 p.m. Now, Kevin, what are you seeing in terms of, is any dry air trying to move in yet? Has the cool front made any progress, or is the atmosphere still pretty much primed for more strong thunderstorms to develop?
It still looks fairly primed to me, and I have been watching. I looked at temperatures and dew points, and you can see where that front is looking at the wind vectors, but it doesn't look like there's been a significant drop in temperatures because of that. As far as dew points go, everyone is still in the 70s. There's been no real drop in that whatsoever.
So it looks like, based on what I'm seeing behind you, is that the dry air, the cool air has just gotten to Bastrop. So it's just right on in the fringe of where we are. When those dew points drop out of the 70s into the 60s and then eventually down into the 50s and 40s, that's the drier air working its way in. So based on what Kevin was just telling us there, that means that the atmosphere is still primed and ready to go. So if you're seeing the sun poke out where you live, that's not necessarily a sign that you're in the clear. That's a sign that the atmosphere is going to try to warm up and possibly redevelop thunderstorms. That's one reason why we're seeing some new scattered development development on the I-10 corridor west of Houston. Thankfully, we have not yet seen any signs of those blossoming into any big thunderstorms. Let me turn the lightning back on to the radar view here. The places where we are seeing lightning is where we have the severe thunderstorm in Wharton and in northern Montgomery County. And those are some storms to watch as they move and zip off to the northeast towards Cold Spring. Earlier, we had one of these storms rapidly begin to start rotating, and we had a tornado warning come out when it was near Shepherd. Currently, no tornado warning. Certainly a good thing. As we look at the showers off to the west, these aren't producing any lightning, and lightning is a key indicator for us because that tells us that the showers have gotten higher into the atmosphere and that the air is moving up at a rapid motion, and these can blossom into bigger thunderstorms. So these are not a big concern right now, but these could be the seeds of future storms as they move off in an eastward direction towards the I-45 corridor. The big concern for our viewers right now are those that are in the path of this large and dangerous thunderstorm that is moving eastward through southern Wharton County. So this is going to continue getting farther and farther south of 59 because 59 tracks northeast, and this is moving eastward. So those of you along the Highway 60 corridor, you're in the lightning and potential hail core of this right now. Towards the 36 corridor in Brazoria County, it's going to be tracking right along 35 eventually. It looks like the worst of this is probably going to stay north of Bay City, but keep a careful eye on it just in case it drifts a little bit farther to the south. So this is our lone severe thunderstorm warning at this time. Now, we've mentioned how we're just kind of getting into range of where our radar can detect rotation, and we're beginning to see that. So basically, the part of the radar that can detect low-level rotation, because of the curvature of the Earth, as that radar beam goes out farther and farther, the beam gets higher and higher off the ground. So by the time we get out here to Highway 60, that radar beam is several thousand feet above the ground. It can't really tell us what's happening at ground level, and that's why it's so important that we have our chief forecaster, meteorologist David Tillman, driving in the storm tracker to put eyes on the ground because he can see what's happening beneath the radar beam that the radar can't see. And so as we look over here, we're beginning to pick up on that rotation in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, aimed right at Magnet, just south of Lane City along Highway 60. So this is, David, if you're listening, this is very close to the Matagorda, Wharton County line. That's where we're seeing that area of rotation. And if we loop it, you can kind of see it's just now getting into view of our radar. So it does appear that it's moving in a more easterly direction, also very close to Kane Junction. And so that's why David's been moving in that direction. So we can go ahead and pull up David's microphone. David, give us an update on your location and anything that catches your eye as you're looking out your window.
Okay, what we decided to do was head east, and we're on, let's see, FM 1468. This road will take us through Clemville and eventually into the town of Markham, and then eventually into Bay City. Once we get to Bay City, if we so choose, we can go north on Highway 60 and intercept the storm there. If the storm doesn't change appearance very much from what we're seeing on radar, then we might keep east on Highway 35 and intercept it a little bit farther to the east, say in the vicinity of possibly Sugar Valley or someplace like that, maybe Van Vleck. Okay, so that's where we are right now. We're basically almost due west of Bay City, and we're heading in an easterly direction. Now, we decided to go south instead of north because we did not want to ride through all of the extremely heavy rain that we went through just a little while ago, because of course it's very hard. It's difficult to see anything, and it's difficult to navigate through as well. But this is a back road here, so you do see a bit of water that is on the roadway. Our storm tracker is handling this without any problems at all. Everybody seems to be getting around, and all we're seeing right now is just a little bit of light rain. I am seeing the area, oh boy, the area of rotation is really tightening up now, Travis.
Yeah.
I just saw a new radar image, and this is going to be approaching Highway 60 from the west to the north of Bay City. And I would guesstimate that to be about 8 miles, 8 to 10 miles north of Bay City. Along Highway 60 is where this tightening rotation is going to cross. So this storm appears to be intensifying. We are absolutely safe. We're actually outside of the severe thunderstorm warning, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised at all to see the National Weather Service issue a tornado warning here before long.
Certainly, and where that storm is located, the radar beam is hitting about 5,000 6,500 feet off the ground. So we're about a mile up where it's picking up that rotation. So, so for our viewers at home, when he says he sees the rotation strengthening, that's in the middle part of the storm. But he's got his eyes on what's happening beneath that radar beam, so he can see what's happening, you know, from his vantage point up. And so, yeah, we definitely are glad that you are grateful for your service there, David, as you keep an eye on the storm. Of course, our friends in Van Vleck, we recall the tornado from Valentine's Day in 2017. So this part of our viewing area, no stranger to tornadoes. Thankfully, it looks like the worst of this may end up just north of Van Vleck as it's moving in more of an eastward direction. But you'd certainly want to keep a watchful eye on this from Bay City to Van Vleck as this gets ready to cross the 60 corridor, very close to the Matagorda-Wharton County line. But those of you in West Columbia, definitely pay attention because you're kind of in the pipeline for where the storm may eventually track as it gets over to the 36 corridor. But this is the one thunderstorm that has access to all the resources the atmosphere has to offer right now because there's just not much competition elsewhere. And that's why we're starting to see this thing begin to spin up. We want to continue to give you a broader perspective as well because some of you are getting rain and you're hearing rumbles of thunder and you're wondering, is this getting bad? And for those of you that are in Montgomery County, northeast of Conroe, around Cut and Shoot, moving now into San Jacinto County, you're doing okay. Yes, you've got some thunderstorms rumbling through, but they have no warnings on them, and they're not at this time showing any signs of rapid strengthening, and they're nowhere near the size and intensity of that storm that we see that is rolling right through the kind of confluence there, the intersection of Wharton, Matagorda, Brazoria counties. So that is going to be the big focus, and that's why David is going to be watching that storm like a hawk over the next, you know, as long as it takes. These storms tend to sustain themselves for a long time, so it may be an hour or two that he's tracking this storm through our coastal counties. The good news for Houston is this severe storm is going to stay off to our south. So in the near term, we're not all that concerned about severe weather, though we are under a tornado watch until 3. We will have to watch the activity popping up over Columbus and now seeing a little bit of intense rain popping up just to the east of Hallettsville as well, southwest of Columbus. That's in the pipeline for Houston in the I-45 corridor as we get closer towards 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We're going to go now to Kevin Roth. He's the newest member of the ABC 13 weather team, helping us out while Rachel Bryars is on maternity leave. And so you've been seeing his face lately. I've been getting a lot of questions from you saying, hey, who's Kevin? Well, here's Kevin, and he's doing a great job, and he's going to give you a little more information on what we're seeing right now and what we anticipate over the next few hours. Kevin?
All right, Travis, thank you. I want to start with the very latest from the National Weather Service, and we are on a chat with them. So as they get new information out, we can see it in live time, and it's excellent. They do expect a new severe warning will be issued for that thunderstorm that we've been watching here and the one that David is driving through and is following. So currently that warning does expire in 5 minutes. It expires at 1:30. I do expect they will extend that severe thunderstorm warning farther to the east, and that has been the trend. So let's start by looking at that storm, and then we'll take a radar tour and look at all of the different areas where we are seeing a few showers and thunderstorms and where we could potentially see the next big storm. We'll look at that in a bit, but first I want to start here. This is the big one. There's that severe thunderstorm warning for Matagorda and Wharton counties. Remember, this expires in just a few minutes, but I would say before it expires, we'll see an extension of this. And I would expect that extension means West Columbia, especially right here along 36 between Needville and West Columbia, kind of the under the gun area that will continue east. So a spot like Angleton needs to be ready, Liverpool, and eventually, if this continues east, even as far as a spot like Galveston and Texas City. No immediate threat there, but if you continue this out, that's the next spot we would look at. We did just get that new warning issued, so here it is, a severe thunderstorm issued for up to 60-mile-per-hour winds, hail of 1 1/4 inch. This is for Brazoria, Fort Bend, Matagorda, and Wharton counties until 2:15. So another 45-minute warning, and this storm just hasn't shown any signs of weakening. You still are seeing a lot of lightning in that cell. There's still the potential for some hail. Obviously, that's mentioned in the warning. The good news is that David drove right through the middle of that storm, and he didn't see any hail. As far as radar indicated hail, let's go ahead and swap that over and take a look at what we could be seeing. This is good news. I'm still not seeing those bright colors that would indicate very large hail, ping pong ball sized hail, or baseball sized hail. We haven't seen that, but we'll go ahead and run a query on this and see what the largest hail radar indicated would be penny sized hail. Hopefully that will stay below severe limits as far as a smaller than quarter-sized tail, when you can really start to see some damage. But this is the main cell we're watching, and I'm going to read this warning, figure out the latest speed and the latest track on it, and we'll put a track on that cell, move it out to the east, and we'll figure out exactly when and where we're going to see that storm. Currently moving east at 30 miles per hour. It is currently located 10 miles south of Wharton, moving east at 30 miles per hour. So we will zoom in on this cell. We'll stop the loop here and there. And I also, sometimes it helps if you take off the lightning. You leave that lightning on and it just gets in the way. This back end is where we're looking at the potential little hook right on the back side of that, kind of right around 60. That doesn't mean that that rotation is reaching the ground, but it does mean mid and upper levels of the atmosphere are showing some of that rotation. That's what David is looking for. But the hail core is going to be north of that rotation. So we'll put a track from what is likely the strongest area of hail, and that'll be kind of the middle of the storm, right about there. And we'll track this off to the east at roughly 30 miles per hour, and that would be New Gulf by 1:33. Now, keep in mind, it is already happening in New Gulf. This is just a more intense section of the storm we're tracking this out for. Damon by 1:47, West Columbia just before 2 o'clock, 1:54 in West Columbia. And that's an area that I really think needs to be prepared. They are up next as far as this system goes. And then that continues, as I mentioned, all the way farther east, 2:13, we're looking at the potential for that storm to be in Angleton, and it will continue off in that general direction. I do want to take another look at some of the other storms in this area because, as Travis mentioned, we're starting to see more development farther north. The good news, and I don't think you have to be a meteorologist to see this, that storm to the south, that's the storm that's getting all the energy. That's where you see all those lightning strikes. These cells that are popping up farther north, I haven't seen any lightning in these from Bellevue to Seal.
In northwestern Louisiana, northeastern Sabine Parish in northwestern Louisiana, southern Wind Parish until 2 p.m. Central Daylight Time. At 1:06 p.m. Central Daylight Time, severe thunderstorms were located along a line extending from 9 miles southeast of Coshada to 10 miles west of Natchitoches to near Manny, moving east at 60 miles per hour. Hazard, 60 miles per hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail. Source, radar indicated. Impact, hail damage to vehicles is expected. Expect wind damage to roofs, siding, and trees. Locations impacted include Natchitoches, Winfield, Manny, Colfax, Canty, Montgomery, Allen, Provincetown, Natchez, Clarence, Dry Prong, Calvin, Fisher, Robeline, Atlanta, Powhatan, Cloudsville, Melrose, Bellwood, and St. Maurice. Remain alert for a possible tornado. Tornadoes can develop quickly from severe thunderstorms. If you spot a tornado, go at once. Repeating, a severe thunderstorm warning has been issued until 2 p.m. Central Daylight Time for the following parishes in Louisiana: Grant, Natchitoches, Sabine, and Wynne. The National Weather Service in Shreveport has issued a flash flood warning for Ouachita Parish until 5 p.m. Central Daylight Time. At 1:01 p.m. Central Daylight Time, Doppler radar indicated thunderstorms producing heavy rain in Monroe. Between 1 and 3 inches of rain have fallen. Flash flooding is ongoing or expected to begin shortly. Hazard, flash flooding caused by thunderstorms. Source,
camera directly towards the part of the storm that could potentially produce a tornado, and we're going to be in position in about, I would say 4 to 6 minutes.
Hook on the radar beginning to develop, that curvature indicating the rotation. New radar sweep just came in, so we're staying on top of this one. A tornado warning is now in effect until, let's see with the time drawn on here, until 2:30. This includes Brazoria and Matagorda County. Those of you from West Columbia to Holiday Lakes, you are in the potential path of this radar indicated tornado. So we do not have confirmation yet because David's got his eye on it. We do not have confirmation that anything is on the ground. Now we're going to take a brief pause on the stream. We're going to break into live TV coverage and give them the information about this new tornado warning. So sit tight with us. Good afternoon. I'm Chief Meteorologist Travis Herzog here in the ABC 13 Weather Center, along with meteorologist David Tillman, who's got his eye on a tornadic thunderstorm off to the south of Houston. This is a new tornado warning that has just gone into effect for parts of Matagorda and Brazoria counties as this storm is moving quickly towards West Columbia. Kevin Roth is also in the Weather Center. We've got our whole team eyeing this storm. We've been tracking this on our digital stream for the past couple of hours. It is now beginning to show a strong sign of curvature. You kind of see how it has this kidney bean or this curved C-shaped look to it. That is a sign of a rotating thunderstorm, and the National Weather Service has gone ahead and issued a tornado warning until 2:30 as this moves its way eastward. It's paralleling Highway 35. So Van Vleck, you're just to the south of this. It is going to keep on moving eastward. So those of you in Van Vleck, you should be safe from the tornadic part of this storm as this safely moves by to your north. Those of you in New Gulf, you're still in the severe thunderstorm warning, but the potentially tornadic part of the storm is also now away from you. And this should stay south of those of you in Fort Bend County. So we're looking at leaving Matagorda County. It's northwest Brazoria County. That's the focus right now for a potential tornado to spin down from this rotating supercell thunderstorm. Those of you in West Columbia, you're no doubt hearing a bunch of rumbles of thunder. The sky looks really dark and it feels uncomfortably humid outside. Those are the conditions you're experiencing ahead of this part of the storm that is beginning to rotate and could produce a tornado. Again, that tornado warning is until 2:30 this afternoon. Meteorologist David Tillman is in our storm tracker. He's almost to West Columbia, heading eastbound on Highway 35, and he's got an update for us about what he's seen with his eyes from the ground because the radar is currently hitting the storm about a mile above ground. This is David Tillman's current view, and if we can pull up David Tillman's microphone. David, tell us where you're located and what you're seeing right now with this new tornado-warned storm.
Okay, so Travis, of course, we did get the alert about the tornado warning that we're under just a moment ago. I'm going to give you the exact crossroad where we are. We're actually at a Shell gas station right along Highway 35, just southwest of West Columbia. So we're at Highway 1459 and Highway 35. Is exactly where we're located. So we're just southwest of West Columbia. As I'm looking at the radar, it looks like the hook echo part of the storm is basically tracking in my general direction at this time, but it's going to track just to the north of us. And what we always want to do when we're tracking a storm like this is to be at a safe vantage point where we can see it, and we can see it goes by in front of us, but it doesn't come directly towards us. So I feel like I'm in a good spot right now to be able to view the possible tornado when it comes by. And I also have a crossroad here that just in case it were to come directly towards me, I can escape with relative ease, Travis. So I feel like I'm in a safe spot. We've got a good vantage point of the storm. We're in just the right spot we want to be in. And in the next 5 to 10 minutes or so here, we're going to know if this storm is or is not producing a tornado in the vicinity of West Columbia.
Okay, thank you for that update, David. And David, I'll tell you this, what I'm seeing on radar, because I don't know if you've been able to look at things while you've been talking to us, is it does appear that we're beginning to see somewhat of a ball emerging on the southeastern part of that hook. So right where the hook ends, it does appear that we're beginning to see some more tightening up. And if I kind of zoom down onto the roadways where we're experiencing that, it looks like that is occurring right along FM 1301. FM 1301, which kind of feeds southeastward into West Columbia. That's where we're seeing the strongest signs of rotation and curling on the radar at this time. So those of you in West Columbia, you've got time to get your family into a safe spot. You do not want to take chances with this storm. Based on what we're seeing on radar, what David is seeing at ground level, this is a storm that could very soon be producing a tornado, and it is unfortunately tracking your way. So now is the time to take action before this potential storm heads in your direction. I do have a future track drawn on this storm, on the part of it that is rotating with the circulation. It puts it into West Columbia in about 12 minutes. You've got about 10 minutes, let's say, to get your family into a safe spot. What's a safe spot? You want to be away from windows. Don't try to see it. Get your family into a safe spot. You want to be in an interior room, put as many walls between you and the outside air as you can. And we typically advise a smaller room on the lowest floor, like a bathroom, a pantry, or a closet, because those smaller rooms tend to be a little bit sturdier and can stand up more to the wind. So that's where you want to go. If you have some pillows, bring some pillows in that room. Maybe bring some games for the kids so that they can have something to distract them while the storm blows over. You can also get on a helmet, a bicycle helmet, a football helmet, motorcycle helmet, anything like that that could protect your head in the event that this does produce a tornado and some debris were to start swirling around. So right now it's just radar indicated, but there are strong signs on radar that this is trying to spin up something that could touch down. Now, most of our tornadoes are on the lower end of the scale. They typically are smaller. They stay on the ground for maybe a minute. They're not very wide, so they can come down with little notice, and by the time the warning gets out again that we have a confirmation, sometimes it's already back up in the clouds. So this could be a brief drop down of a tornado, and then it goes right back up. The point is, you've been warned that you need to take shelter, and so for those of you in West Columbia, definitely seek shelter from the storm. Now, for those of you in East Columbia, just a few minutes later, so basically all of West East Columbia, shelter now. For those of you in Holiday Lakes, the severe part of the storm that's rotating may not reach you until closer to 2:30. So you're over here. The rotating part of the storm is likely going to be just off to your south, but we can't determine if it's going to change direction. So you're in this warning as well. It's advised that you also get everything in order, get the family into a safe spot as this storm tracks off in that easterly direction. So again, on radar, we are seeing some strong indications that this storm is rotating. It's not the strongest rotation we've ever seen, but in this part of our area, you're on the edge of where we get the best radar view of the rotation in a storm. And so sometimes it may look like a weak rotation, sometimes not even much rotation at all, and a tornado comes down. But based on what we're seeing on radar, very wise move for the Weather Service to go ahead and issue that warning and give you heads up as the storm continues to track eastward toward West Columbia. We've also got Kevin Roth in the Weather Center. Kevin, have you seen anything new come across, any new information about what the storm is doing at this time?
No new information from the National Weather Service. I'm still watching this. Of course, you mentioned the tornadic portion of the storm. That's where we're seeing that hook. Farther north, there are areas that are in the hail core. This is also a very dangerous place to be, but it does not have that tornadic implication as you do when you're on the southern edge of this storm in the hook. That pink polygon, that is the tornado-warned portion of the storm. So West Columbia is under the gun. Now is the time to get to that safe place. If this warning is to be continued to the east, if this warning is re-upped and we get another tornado warning out of this, it would be Angleton that would be under the gun next. So those areas and everyone along 35 need to be prepared. If you are along 35 from West Columbia, anywhere west of that, and then going forward to the east towards Angleton, all of you need to be in your safe places now. Whether or not there is a tornado on the ground, we're not sure. But a radar-indicated tornado is enough of an issue. We're seeing reports here, Travis, of a funnel cloud spotted. This was just 1 minute ago. A rotating wall cloud with a funnel cloud 2 miles west of West Columbia.
Okay, and that makes sense, Kevin. If we could look at this radar source that I've just pulled up, what you're seeing on the radar is that there's this curvature, and then there's this little appendage that's sticking out from the curvature. That is the location where you could see that tornado spin up, and this is right along FM 1301, and it is moving right in the direction of West Columbia. So we have now a storm spotter that has reported a funnel cloud, and that there is rotation. What's called a wall cloud is rotating. You get this larger rotation, and then a tornado, usually a smaller circulation with the higher winds, can spin down out of that. So you see how there's this large curve. That's what we call the hook echo, and there's this appendage beginning to emerge. That is a sign that this is likely trying to produce a tornado. It still may not, but it's definitely, we've at least got a funnel cloud. We'll see if it touches the ground. But those of you in West Columbia, definitely anywhere along FM 1301 into West Columbia, and then eastward from there, you need to be prepared for the possibility of a tornado coming through your neighborhood. So get in your safe spot. If you don't can't hear the TV or pull the TV around, turn the volume up. And the best way is to also put on our weather stream on your smartphone, the ABC 13 Houston News app. In case the power goes out, you can still hear what we are talking about. So this is the kind of radar signature. And here again, we see kind of this appendage right here along FM 1301. So what I'm going to do is go back over to a different mode of the radar. We call this our velocity mode. And what this does is it shows us the motion of the air inside the storm. And we are indeed beginning to see these very bright colors popping up here just to the west of West Columbia. And that confirms what we're seeing on the other radar view, where there's that potential sign of a smaller, intense circulation. So that is aimed right at you in West Columbia. We are going to stay with you on TV here until this thing either weakens or passes by, because we want to get you the latest information of what's happening. Now, if you lose our TV feed or our satellite signal, that's why I encourage you to have that ABC 13 Houston News app installed on your smartphone. Now, we're getting a view from David Tillman, and David, it looks like this thing is definitely beginning to wrap up a bit more based on what I'm seeing from your picture. Tell us a little more about your 360 view, what you're seeing on the ground there near West Columbia.
Okay, we decided to position ourselves on the other side of the gas station to get a better look at what we call the rain-free base of the storm. To my right is where the heavy rain is falling down. Typically, tornadoes come out of the cloud that is just to the south and west of that, and that is exactly what we're looking at right now, the rain-free base of the cloud. At this time, I don't see anything that appears to be a funnel cloud. But I certainly do see a lowered cloud base directly in front of us at this particular time, and that is exactly what we're going to continue to watch. Now, based on where I'm located and what I'm seeing on the radar, I am just to the southeast of that little appendage there, that little ball that appears to be heading right into the West Columbia area. Now, I'm going to wait until I can get a slightly better look at the tail end of this cloud here. If I don't see anything, I'm going to move just a little bit closer to West Columbia, but I'm watching this very suspicious area directly in front of us for the possibility of a tornado. To these eyes, it looks like that I'm looking at the exact right spot for something to happen if it were to happen, but at this time, I'm not seeing anything happening. As a matter of fact, I'm seeing some birds flying around in there, and I'm pretty sure they wouldn't be able to fly around quite that easy if there was something going on.
All right, thanks for that live on-the-ground update. David, stay on that, and if you need to get back on with us, get our attention so that we can let people know about what you're seeing. If you start to see something, try to build down from that cloud. So here is a look at the future track on that part of the storm that could produce the possible tornado. Again, this warning is radar indicated, and we have a report that some storm spotter out there did see a funnel cloud. So as we look at this appendage that's coming out around this big curved hook, as we call it, this is the spot that could produce a tornado at any moment. And so this is aimed heading straight along 35 over West Columbia, East Columbia, into Holiday Lakes. And eventually, if this storm holds together, and we think it will hold together, it may not have the same look to it, but this part of the storm would be reaching you in Angleton around 2:38. So the track here is right on. It's still a few more minutes, about 4 more minutes before it hits this part of West Columbia. So it's about 4 minutes away from reaching 35, and I'm sorry, Highway 36. It's already along 35, but at the intersection of 36 and 35, this is the spot for those of you in West Columbia. Again, if you're just joining us, you're under tornado warning. You still have a few more minutes to get your family into a safe spot. You want to be in an interior part of your home on the lowest level away from the exterior walls. Bathroom, pantry, closet, and make sure that you have a way to protect your head when that storm begins to pass over. So this is it, and this warning is in effect until 2:30. So we may see this get reissued if it maintains this signature once it gets ready to get closer to the 288 corridor. As of right now, those of you in Angleton are not included in this warning, but I drew the track out to you because you are in the pipeline next for this potentially tornadic thunderstorm to impact you, again, closer to around 2:35, 2:40 window. That's when this part of the storm that could produce the tornado would begin to impact you. So we're getting new radar sweeps here. This storm is one that we've been tracking for hours. It does have a history of many severe thunderstorm warnings. In addition to the potential for tornado, it can produce hail and high winds. And David Tillman, I understand you've got another update for us.
Yeah, I wanted to update you really quickly, Travis, because if you look, well, it's a little hard to zoom in on exactly what I'm speaking of, but a truck just passed in front of what appears to be scud cloud that is originating from the ground and going straight up into the storm. I mean, this is just an incredible sight that I'm looking at here. Matter of fact, I'm seeing two areas of scud that appear to be originating from the ground and reaching up towards the cloud.
Okay, David, we have David, we have confirmation that there is a tornado on the ground. So I believe you may be seeing the tornado. Storm spotters can confirm that there is a tornado on the ground located west of West Columbia, moving east at 30 miles per hour. Go ahead.
Absolutely right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I could believe that, Travis. It's not a solid condensation funnel. This does not at all appear to look like anything you would typically see in a tornado video. It's very fleecy looking, but it could be a situation where the tornado's actually still in a developing stage. But because it's so incredibly humid and there's so much moisture here, we may be seeing the beginning stages of it directly in front of us. And if you can see, there's some very fleecy looking clouds in the distance there. There's an 18-wheeler, a white cap 18-wheeler directly in front of us, and just to the right of there is where we're seeing what appears to be, at the very least, scud cloud reaching into the cloud, but what may be a developing tornado right in front of us.
And David, what the spotter reported, where they reported that tornado location, it's along FM 1301. Right before it intersects Highway 35. I can't recall exactly what your cross street is, but this is right along FM 1301, right before it intersects 35, just to the west of West Columbia.
Okay, I think what we're going to do, you know what I think we're looking at, Travis, is a second area of potential tornadic development on the south side of the rain-free base.
Okay.
So, Matt, why don't we go ahead and do this? Why don't we turn and go into town here just a little bit? And Travis, as we get a little bit into town, we will tell you exactly what we see.
Well, David, I want to caution you, too. A new velocity scan just came in to the south of West Columbia, right along Highway 35, that's indicating some new rotation spinning up, and perhaps that's what you are currently seeing. So I just want you to be careful if you're venturing into West Columbia with these potential multiple circulations popping up along this storm.
I certainly will.
Okay, thank you for that. So David's going to reposition. We're going to keep his picture up in the storm tracker because we do have confirmation that a tornado is on the ground. And Kevin, make sure that gets out on social media for the people that are following us there. So we have confirmation of a tornado on the ground just to the west of West Columbia. Now, we don't know if it's still on the ground. Sometimes, like I mentioned earlier, these tornadoes will come down quickly, and just as quickly as they come down, they'll go right back up into the cloud. And so we don't know, but what we do know know is that it's possible, right around West Columbia, that a tornado may be passing through, and David says he potentially could be seeing a second tornado trying to develop somewhere in that vicinity. Either way, this is the time to be in your safe spot. We are seeing on our velocity scan those reds and those greens together, indicating the rotation detected by the radar. Again, the radar is detecting rotation about a mile above the ground. And so David has the vantage point of what's happening beneath the radar beam. So that's why we rely on storm spotters, and in this case, our own David Tillman, to detect circulations that are reaching to the ground. And take a look what's coming into view right now. You can see that the clouds are lowering there. David, if you're still with us and able to talk, describe what you're seeing as you drive farther on the road.
Let's pull over up here if you don't mind. Let's pull over right here. We're actually in the process of pulling over, Travis. Now, again, I don't see an actual funnel reaching for the ground, but this is certainly a very ominous area that I'm looking at, and you can clearly see it on the camera shot as well. I'm having to decipher right now which way the wind is blowing and what's happening. Hanging cloud here, which does appear to have rotation with it.
Okay, and that'd be the spot that could possibly produce a brief tornado spin up, which is why when you're under that warning, even if it's radar indicated and there's no confirmation, you take it seriously. But we did get confirmation from a spotter in a different location that something did touch down. It may not be down anymore, but just as quickly as it came down and went up, it could easily come back down once again. I notice y'all are backing up a little bit. Are you seeing something that's causing you to back up?
Yeah, and it's just to the left of us, and it's just off camera. If you think that cloud that's in the camera view is hanging low, wait till we give you a look at what is coming directly beside it. And of course, we want to get out of the way of it. We certainly don't want to be in the way of anything that could potentially touch down. And
you're still on 35. I see. It looks like you're on a bridge right now.
We are. Yeah, we are on 35. The intersection, what was that, FM 1300 that you were talking about a moment ago?
1301.
That's farther, 1301, okay, that's a little bit farther into town, and we were moving in that direction, but, this looks so suspicious here that I thought we would back up and just take a look at it and give you a look at it as well.
Okay. So tornado warning continues. The part of the storm that could be producing a tornado is right over West Columbia, moving toward East Columbia. You are under a tornado warning until 2:30 this afternoon, and we may see that get extended if this storm continues to hold onto the structure that we are seeing. Now, I'm not seeing as much on velocity as I did earlier, still seeing a few pockets of rotation, but hard to discern if one of those is taking over. But it's definitely in the vicinity of West Columbia. So even if we can't pinpoint the exact spot of where tornado might come down, you know that this is the spot where we're looking at the potential for a tornado to come on through. So here's a look at the more traditional radar view, and if you pull it out a little bit, this is the classic sign of a storm. This is what we call a supercell thunderstorm, and when you see that curvature to the storm, we call that a hook echo, and that is the classic sign of a potential tornadic thunderstorm. Now, not every storm that rotates like this will produce a tornado, but these are the kind that most likely do and often will. So there's this curvature right in here, and so that's what we're watching for the possibility of that part of the storm to produce a tornado. Now, I'm seeing a new icon popping up, that spinning arrow on my radar. I'm going to go ahead and get a feel for what kind of threats the computer is assessing there. Right now, it is showing a high wind threat developing. Sometimes when these spin-ups occur, we will see gusty winds come down as that tornado tries to wrap up or form, and the wind can take over. And so, David, I'm sorry, were you talking to us, David?
Go through the road. No, we're trying to reposition ourselves here once again, Travis, because we don't want to get caught in the heavy rain. Yes. So we're gonna swing back around to where the gas station was and take that road that we were at and go south is what we're going to do.
Okay. Safety obviously is your #1 priority, but you're also providing a public service by what you are seeing with your eyes. So we thank you very much for that. We want you to be safe, and then as soon as you can get us some new perspective, new information, please pass that along. Now, what you're looking at right now is the turbulent underside of a cloud. And so when you see the cloud that looks like that, it almost looks like these little pillows hanging down or sheets hanging down from the sky, that is a sign of some turbulent air, and oftentimes that's because we've got very warm, moist, unstable air coming over the top of some rain-cooled air. So those are some very turbulent-looking clouds as they move in the opposite direction of the vantage point that they just had. And based on the way this is wrapping up, it looks like we might be seeing a downdraft of wind. That's when wind comes down from the thunderstorm and begins to press outward, and that may be what's happening right now, is some rain-cooled air is pressing down, and that's going to continue to tighten up that circulation right near where we have this kink in the storm. So we might see winds begin to fan out and gust 60 miles per hour or greater, and then a new tornado could potentially spin up there off to the northeast of West Columbia, based on what I'm seeing right now on the radar imagery. So, so we do, again, to recap, we have had a confirmed report of a tornado come from this storm that, as it was approaching West Columbia on the west side, we do not know if it still is on the ground. And this is something also that you will often see in places that get a lot of these supercell thunderstorms. You'll see a tornado warning over part of the storm and then a severe thunderstorm warning over a different part of the storm. In this part of a supercell thunderstorm, where you see the dark shades of purple and the bright pinks, that's where you get the severe hail. And so there's not so much a tornado threat for those of you around Bonnie towards Liverpool along 288 there in the northern part of the county, but you have what's called the hail core moving in your direction. So when we flip over into a hail analysis mode, you'll see there's this bright ball of blue indicating nickel-size hail, and that is what's going to be moving in your way, and that usually occurs away from where you get the tornadic circulation of the storm. So going back to our traditional radar view, it does appear that the circulation has now passed through West Columbia, and we might be seeing a reorganization of the storm farther off to the east and northeast over toward Holiday Lakes. So those of you in Holiday Lakes, definitely you want to get into that safe spot in the event that we see a brief circulation try to develop. Or, at the very least, you might be getting some gusty winds headed your way as well, based on a new kind of curvature that we're seeing press out from the storm as it rolled through West Columbia. So let me go ahead and draw a line on here. There's kind of this curved area. That's usually an indication that we have strong winds that are beginning to fan out. We call that a downdraft, and that can produce winds just as intense as a smaller tornado can, and over a much larger area. So those strong gusty winds appear to be traveling towards Holiday Lakes, towards the Highway 288 corridor. So definitely take this tornado threat seriously, even though we don't exactly know if a tornado is still on the ground. But based on what I'm seeing on radar imagery, it does appear this may be transitioning into more of a wind threat in many directions, but there can still be a tornado spin up anywhere along that line that I've drawn out that's fanning out towards Holiday Lakes. We've also got Kevin Roth in the Weather Center. Kevin, have you seen anything new come across, any new information about this storm?
Nothing from the National Weather Service, but I was looking at the velocity, not just on the tornado-warned part of the storm, but in the severe thunderstorm portion farther north, and I would not at all be surprised if we're seeing some very strong 60-plus mile-per-hour winds there. And a lot of times when you are adjacent to a tornado, people think they went through a tornado. That's how strong those winds can be in this section of the storm. So, of course, we're keeping a watch on the tornado warn system, but just to the north of that, that is a severe thunderstorm as well, and that's worth monitoring.
Thank you for that, Kevin. And here's who does not have to worry about this storm right now. This is going to skirt south of the vast majority of Fort Bend County. So those of you, Sienna Plantation, Needville, Sugar Land, this storm is not moving your way. When you kind of zoom out a little bit and look at the storm motion, it's almost straight off to the east. And it is moving eastward at about 30 to 35 miles per hour. So we're looking at the 288 corridor from Rocheron, Lake Jackson. You'll be kind of on the southern edge of this. So you might end up getting missed just to your north, but but I want you to pay careful attention because it's going to be a close call for you in Lake Jackson, but definitely in Angleton, Holiday Lakes, Angleton, you are next up with the potential for the strong gusty winds and the potential for a tornado to come out as this approaches the 288 corridor. If we just extrapolate this out in time, and let's say that this continues moving off in this easterly direction, eventually this is going to impact those of you along the Highway 6 and Gulf Freeway corridors. So right now, we've got just a few more minutes before it hits Holiday Lakes. Angleton, 237, Danbury, 248, Liverpool, just before 3, San Luis Pass, 317, Jamaica Beach, around 330, Tiki Island, around 340, Galveston Island, the east end of the island, the city of Galveston. If this holds together, you've still got almost an hour and a half to prepare for the part that could produce gusty winds and the tornado. Now, you're going to get rain and the potential for hail ahead of this timeline that I just showed you. What I'm tracking is the part that could potentially produce the strong winds and the tornado on the southern part of the storm. Let's get the latest now from David, because I see that y'all are moving at a pretty quick clip. It looks like you might be repositioning to a different part of the storm. David, where are you now and what are you seeing?
Okay, right now we are heading northeast on FM 522 in the general direction of Holiday Lakes. As you said just a little while ago, it almost appears like the storm is trying to reform itself up towards Holiday Lakes. So we're going to take a stab at moving in that direction and see if we can get closer to it. And also, as you said a little while ago, it appears that this south side of the storm is losing a lot of its organization as far as the rotation goes. So we are moving in a northeasterly direction to see if we can get out ahead of this storm system once again.
Thank you for that update, David. Stay safe and let us know what you see as soon as you see something that catches your eye. Also, don't want to sleep on what's happening off to the north. Even though we don't have any warnings in effect right now, we do still have some active weather. And so this is the final wave of rain coming through as a weak front with some drier air is entering into our western counties. This is the last round of rain that could potentially produce severe weather up and down the I-45 corridor and then off to the east. At this time, the main threat for severe weather is going to remain in Brazoria and Galveston counties, may eventually reach into parts of Chambers counties. We are monitoring these showers that are developing out to the west of Houston. Let me throw the lightning back on so we can get a feel for where we're getting some stronger storms. These are beginning to produce some lightning, and when they produce lightning, that's a sign that they are getting stronger and potentially could get a little more organized. At this time, they are disorganized, and so you're hearing those rumbles of thunder between Sealy and Katy up towards Hempstead and Prairie View. These storms are non-severe. They're coming through quickly, and once this wave is over, you're likely going to be done with rain for the rest of the day. As it stands right now, this severe thunderstorm, or rather this tornado watch, is in effect until 3 o'clock. The prime zone for tornadic formation is going to stay off to the south for the short term. We will monitor those storms carefully along I-10 into the north for any signs of rotation, but we simply aren't seeing that at this time. So we are going to stay on top of this tornado warning here on TV and our digital stream until its expiration at 2:30, and we will see if the National Weather Service decides that that they need to extend the tornado warning. So we're going to stay on this, and once we get some new information as we watch this storm try to reorganize, then we'll get a feel for whether we can come down on broadcast, but we will continue this digital stream until the threat of tornadoes has passed our viewing area. So at this time, these are the only 2 active warnings we have. It's actually 2 warnings for the same storm. This is a powerful supercell thunderstorm. We did have a confirmed tornado touchdown briefly just on the west side of West Columbia. I can tell you that those of you in West Columbia, the part of the storm that could produce the tornado has passed you by. So you are safe from the part of the storm that could potentially produce a tornado. Those of you that are on the right side of that warned area of the cone, of this polygon, as we say, that's where there's the potential for the gusty winds and the tornadic circulations. And then to the north of there, across northern parts of Brazoria County, you're under a severe thunderstorm warning for the potential of some hail that's approaching golf ball size. And there could be winds over 50 miles per hour. But the warning is actually for the potential of hail. Once hail gets to a quarter size or greater, then there's the potential that it could start doing some damage. Kevin Roth is in the ABC 13 Weather Center as well. Kevin, what's the latest from your vantage point?
Yeah, I'm keeping up with the National Weather Service, and they are saying they will reissue that tornado warning. It looks like it's recycling into those counties It's not at all surprising. This is what we were watching.
Just
as they lose their circulation, they can spin back up, and I think that's what we're seeing, and that's exactly where David is headed as well. So a new tornado warning just now issued. You can go ahead and take it from there.
Yeah, this new tornado warning is until 3 o'clock. It does include those of you in Angleton, in Bailey's Prairie, in Danbury, and Holiday Lakes. It does appear that the storm is reorganizing. So the southern part of that storm could still be producing the gusty winds, but it looks like now it's going to be the more northern part, so north of 35, from Angleton northward, where there could potentially be a tornadic spin up. So this is the new tornado warning that is until 3 p.m. So it has a history of producing a tornado. It is currently over Holiday Lakes. It is near Angleton. It is moving off to the east at 35 miles per hour. So the first thing I want to do is I want to draw a new storm track to give you a feel for when this could potentially be impacting your community. So this is the part of the storm that could potentially produce a tornado. We'll draw the fan out here, and as we look at the new times that populate, we're looking at Angleton, 2:34. So there's not really that much time left to prepare for this in Angleton. You've got maybe 5 minutes before the part of the storm that could produce a tornado is bearing down on your city. Danbury, you have until about 2:45. Liverpool, just before 3 p.m. So this is a dangerous storm. It has a history of producing a tornado, and on the north side of it, it's possibly producing some large hail in addition to some gusty winds. But we focus in on the spot of the storm that poses the most risk to lives and property, and that is the part of the storm that is aimed right at Angleton towards the 288 corridor. So there is your new future track on this storm as it works off to the east at about 35 miles per hour. So this again briefly produced a tornado when it was on the west side of West Columbia. The storm is reorganizing, and it's the northern part now where we're seeing more tornadic potential formation. We're going to go into a different mode, which is called our velocity mode, and kind of gives us a view of which way the air is moving. And we definitely see that there is a circulation along 35 moving in the vicinity of Angleton. And so when you see greens, that's indicating that the air is moving toward the radar. And so the radar is located in this direction, and the reds mean it's moving away. So there is a circulation in between. And so this circulation, while it may not produce a tornado, it's the part that could produce a tornado. And that's why we issue the warning for this part of the storm. Even if it doesn't produce a tornado, as we saw what happened in West Columbia, it can still throw down some gusty winds that could approach severe levels, and those can be even more widespread than an actual tornado would be. So that's what we're keeping a very watchful and careful eye on as this storm continues to work its way off to the east at 30 miles per hour. So this is our new tornado warning. The old one has been allowed to expire. So those of you in West Columbia, and East Columbia, you are now cleared out. Bailey's Prairie, Angleton, Holiday Lakes, you are in the prime zone where this potential tornado could form and develop. So this is the spot we're going to keep a very close eye on. We're also monitoring the storm activity coming in from the west between Houston and Conroe. That currently does not look like it's going to turn severe, but it's still some storm activity we're keeping an eye on, given that we are under a tornado watch for the next 30 minutes. But those of you in Brazoria County, and especially those of you in Galveston County, I want you to be paying careful attention to the storm. Now, those of you that are farther south, say down towards Freeport, it looks like this storm, the worst part of it, is going to miss you safely off to the north. Go ahead and keep monitoring it, but I think you're going to be okay. Those of you in Matagorda County, you're now cleared from that potential tornadic storm. It is now safely off to your east. It's right on top of Brazoria County in the vicinity of Bailey's Prairie and Angleton, and will be moving right for Galveston County. Both mainland Galveston County and Galveston Island are in the path of this dangerous thunderstorm. It will stay safely to the south of Pearland. It will stay safely to the south of Houston and Harris County. So those of you watching in Pearland, you've got your eye on this big monster to your south. It is going to stay off to your east, or rather it is going to move to the east and stay south of you. But that said, those of you in Alvin, Manville, you're going to get the rain, and you might get some rumbles of thunder. But we're keeping a very close eye on this storm as it continues to move off in that easterly direction. Let's get an update from David Tillman. David, can you give us your approximate location of where you are in relation to this storm at this time?
Okay, so Travis, where we are, we're just east of West Columbia on Highway 35, and we're heading east towards the Angleton area. Of course, the business part of the storm where there could be a possible tornado is just on the west and north side of the Angleton area, and that is the general direction that we're going. Now, we're having to catch back up to the storm, because if you intercept a storm and you're on it and you're looking for a tornado, it doesn't take any time at all for it to get past you. And of course, thunderstorms could care less about roads and if you have the proper road to keep up with it or not. So we've jumped back on Highway 35. We're heading in an easterly direction right now, with the storm moving east at about 40 or so, I believe I heard you say. And with us moving at 60 miles per hour, we should reacquire the storm here coming up in about 10 minutes or so. If you saw the sign there, Angleton is about 10 to 12 miles away.
Okay, thank you for that update, David. We are watching on radar. We're looking at a velocity mode, and we are seeing signs of a strengthening circulation just near Bailey's Prairie. Starting to see these shades of blue that are popping up, and that's indicating some very strong winds that have developed there. That's an 89-mile-per-hour wind pixel just sampled by the radar. So that could be a sign that we have a new tornado that has developed and is on the ground there on Highway 35 near the intersection of 35 and FM 521. And this is approaching those of you in Bailey's Prairie. So again, you want to be in your safe spot if you're in Bailey's Prairie, if you're in Angleton, Holiday Lakes, because of the possibility that that storm is producing a tornado. And we'll get some updates when we get them from any storm spotters. Let's see. Someone just said that it's just west of Bailey Prairie, and it's a strong low-level rotation looking east right along Highway 35. Okay. So okay. So we do have that strong rotation near Bailey's Prairie. That's one of our storm spotters, Bob Pack, that's on top of that one. And very strong rotation, and this is the spot that could possibly end up producing the next tornado. So this is going to be in the vicinity here of Bailey's Prairie, and so we are keeping a very close eye on that. It's kind of in the pipeline there. Pardon me as I hop around. I'm trying to get a better look at the radar imagery. And yes, we're also seeing that on our radar imagery as well. That there's that hooking motion and that very strong rotation that has developed there approaching Bailey's Prairie and Angleton. We also have a new severe thunderstorm warning. I'm sorry, a continuation of the potential for some hail in the northern part of this storm. Now, Kevin, I'm going to toss to you for a moment because I need to go do something behind the scenes real fast. But if you can continue to keep our viewers informed and stay in touch with David of what's happening with that potential tornado-warned storm that's moving towards Bailey's Prairie and Angleton. I'll be right back.
Yeah, that sounds good. Let's start by diving into this storm. Of course, this is the main thunderstorm. We've got the tornado warning and the severe thunderstorm warning both on this cell. So let's go ahead and zoom in, take a look at this storm. There are two sections of it. There's that tornado warned part. That's that southern edge. That's where you're seeing that hook. This is to the east of Angleton now, and it continues to move farther to the east. There's also the severe thunderstorm portion of this. That's where you're seeing the hail core. So this is a dual threat storm. Obviously, the greater threat is that rotation. There's no confirmed tornado on the ground now, but we do have rotation, and it would not be at all surprising if this spins up yet another tornado. Here's the greater hail threat. As I mentioned, that's farther north than where the tornadic portion of the storm is. You're looking at this crossing 288 just south of Bonnie and north of Angleton, and we're seeing hail as large as quarter-sized hail in that hail core. This also isn't the only storm that I'm watching, because this development that we saw farther to the north and west, that continues to strengthen. At this current time, these storms are not severe, but we are starting to see more lightning in that. Now go ahead, put the lightning on, and we'll loop this. You can get an idea of just how much stronger these storms are getting. So this is roughly on I-10 from Sealy to Katy and then stretching farther north. These are the next batch of storms that we're going to be watching. Currently, there is nothing there that is anything like the storm we're seeing farther south that just went through Angleton. So that is the key storm that we're going to focus on, Travis.
Thank you for that update, Kevin. And by the way, Kevin is helping us out while Rachel Bryars is on maternity leave. As a new face, new voice, we welcome him to our team. Thank you, Kevin, for helping us out, doing a great job. Now, when we're looking at this view right here that shows colored satellite, it gives us a different perspective of what's happening when we look down on top of a thunderstorm. And so this is the severe thunderstorm that's possibly producing tornadoes. It's been sustaining itself for a very long time. And what we look for on the color satellite is these darker shades of orange and red and even this black, indicating the storm is punching very high into the atmosphere. And when you see this fan out in a sideways V, that's a sign that you have a very powerful severe storm. Now, what I'm noticing is these storms that are popping up west of Houston, approaching Katy into Waller County, northern Waller County, we're starting to see some expansion of the thunderstorm tops right there. And that is the possibility that these storms are trying to strengthen a bit. So we're going to keep an eye on these in case these do end up turning severe. The focus for severe weather in the short term is on this storm that we have that's currently down here in Brazoria County. Now, we did get confirmation that there was a tornado on the ground for about 2 minutes just to the west of West Columbia. And Kevin, we've also got an update on the tornado watch. What can you tell us about the update on that tornado watch?
Yeah, the tornado watch was set to expire at 3 o'clock this afternoon. That obviously is not the case with still ongoing thunderstorms and a tornado warning. That has now been extended here until I believe 10 p.m. Yeah, 10 p.m. is now when that watch expires. So this started early, and we're going to be staying with this all the way through the evening shows.
Now, it's important to note that by 10 o'clock, these storms are going to be out of here, right? So this watch covers a very large region. I imagine there's some expansion maybe into Louisiana. And so the prime window for tornadoes here locally in southeast Texas is going to be these next 2 to 3 hours. And then the storm should be off to our east safely by the time we go to bed tonight. So you're seeing on your screen on the right side is the radar imagery. All the warnings for now are over Brazoria County. And then on the left side of your screen, that's the view from our storm tracker. Meteorologist David Tillman has been our eyes on the ground all morning and afternoon long, chasing these storms all through southeast Texas. He's trying to get us a better vantage point of what's currently happening with the severe storm that has the tornado warning as well in Brazoria County. So let's go ahead and zoom back down as we keep a watchful eye on the new storms that are flaring up west of Houston. So far, no signs that they're severe, but they are in the process of intensifying and getting a bit stronger. They don't look like the kind of storms that want to rotate like this one has been doing. They look like the kind of storms that, though, may produce some hail. So we'll keep an eye on those. This is our tornado warning in effect until 3 p.m. Now, we are seeing that there's this long tail to the storm that starts at Angleton and spreads back to the southwest. That's not the part of the storm that is typically going to produce a tornado. So let's go back into what's called our velocity mode. It shows us where we have rotation going on. And right now, we're not seeing that strong sign of rotation that we had a few moments ago on the radar, but we are definitely still seeing that there is a broad rotation present in this storm. And so that's why we have this tornado warning, because we're seeing the spin on radar. We have had confirmation that a tornado touched down for a couple of minutes just west of West Columbia, and this is the same storm that is tracking eastward. Now, those of you in West Columbia, you're in the clear again. It's Bailey's Prairie, it's Angleton, it's Danbury, it's Liverpool. You are the next ones that could potentially encounter a tornadic circulation. And so as we flip back into a radar mode, it's going to show us more of the storms that are occurring. And these thunderstorms, in addition to that one spot to possibly generating a tornado, they're also producing a tremendous amount of lightning, and that lightning can easily cause the power to go out. And so, this is the kind of situation where you want to make sure you have multiple ways to receive weather information, whether it's the ABC 13 Houston News app in case your power goes down, you still got your smartphone with you, or you have a NOAA weather radio. These are the kinds of things that can keep you informed in case your satellite signal goes down or you lose power at your house. So a highly electrified storm, and the worst part of that lightning is off to the northeast of Angleton. Thankfully, the worst part of the storm is mainly in a rural spot. It's not hitting the most heavily populated areas, but we care about every single viewer out there. So from Angleton to Danbury to Liverpool, you've got to take this one seriously and remain in that safe spot for that potential tornado circulation. So again, we did have a confirmed touchdown, and we continue to see rotation on the radar. Typically, Our tornadoes that we get in southeast Texas are not like the ones that you see happen off to our east in the deep south, like what happened Easter Sunday or towards Oklahoma. Those large, long-tracked, powerful tornadoes, we typically don't get those. Most of the time when we have tornadoes, they're on the lower end of the scale, the EF0s, the EF1s, and they don't last for a long time. So you need to take it seriously and get in your safe spot and be prepared for that quick touchdown of a tornado. But these are not the kinds of powerful, long-track tornadoes that we see in other parts of the country. And the winds with these storms as well can still produce damage on par with tornadoes. Now, as we're looking at David Tillman's picture from the storm tracker, the sky on the left side of his view is looking a little more ominous. So let's get another update from David Tillman on where he is and what he's seen from his vantage point.
Okay, Travis, we are getting very close to Highway 288 in the Angleton area. Based on what you're saying and what I'm seeing on radar, our next stop is going to be Hitchcock, because it appears that the business part of this storm appears to be heading in the general direction of Hitchcock. Between Danbury and Hitchcock is a lot of rural area, and that is good news as well. We certainly don't want the business part of the storm to be tracking over a heavily populated area. So we are coming into Angleton right now. The rain is coming down really hard. Of course, there's no hail at this time. Doesn't appear to be awfully windy either, but we do see some dark clouds through the raindrops there to the north and east of us. So that's something that we're going to keep a close eye on. Going to take a little while to get there, but generally we are moving in the general direction of Hitchcock. And once we get there, we will let you know. At this time, I'm not seeing anything overly concerning, and that is good news for Angleton. Hopefully this thing will pass right by Angleton without a problem.
Thank you for that, David. And we've also got another set of eyes on the ground. A storm spotter, Bob Pack, he's at a gas station right now in Angleton. He also has another perspective on the storm, and here is what he is seeing from his vantage point as he streams live for us. You can see kind of some of the signs there flapping in the wind. Doesn't look like it's terribly strong wind at this time, but also seeing some of those low clouds, a sign of a very moist atmosphere, and it's those lower clouds that we want to look at carefully for the possibility of any signs of circulation or rotation. Now, not every low cloud you see is at a threat for becoming a tornado, but when we see rotation coupled with that, that's the sign that we could potentially be seeing a tornado forming. So he's in Angleton. David is repositioning for those of you in Galveston County. Again, this storm looks like it will sustain itself and is going to be moving towards that Highway 6 corridor, I should say, between Santa Fe and Hitchcock. And so he's trying to get out ahead of the storm so we can keep some eyes on the ground as this continues to move off to the east. Now, storms go through life cycles, and earlier we saw this spin up and it turned severe as it moved into Jackson and Wharton counties. Then it looked a little less severe. Then it started to spin back up again as it was moving into Matagorda, Brazoria counties. And so we're seeing this cycling occurring where it put down a tornado. It's trying to reorganize. It might put down another tornado. It might not. We hope not, but it's a storm we're going to have to keep tracking, it looks like, until it leaves our viewing area. This is one of those rare supercell thunderstorms that we often hear about but don't often get here in southeast Texas. They're able to pull in all of the atmospheric ingredients around them. They are basically giant rotating thunderstorms that are the most prolific severe weather makers. And again, this is safely going to stay south of you in Pearland, and for those of us in Houston, Harris County, it's going to stay to the south of those of you in Fort Bend County. It's Brazoria County, it's Galveston County, maybe Chambers County that needs to be on alert for this tornadic thunderstorm. We don't know if it's still producing a tornado, but we do know that it has a history of doing so. I do want to pull out the view again because we still have more storms that are developing off to the north. These are some noisy thunderstorms that are beginning to rumble along the I-10 corridor into Katy and stretch northeastward across northwest Harris County, southwest Montgomery County. So Magnolia, you're getting those noisy storms. It's moving towards Lake Conroe and Conroe. And all of this is the last wave. So behind this wave of storms is some drier air. Once the drier air gets in here, there's no more moisture for the atmosphere to play with, and the storm threat will come to an end. It's the southern part of this region, though, where we're seeing the current warnings, and that appears to be the case over the next couple of hours. That's going to be the biggest concern. We still have to monitor the storms that are approaching the I-45 corridor north of I-10 because those still have the potential to get a little bit stronger. But for now, they're disorganized, they're producing some lightning and some briefly heavy rainfall, which could cause some minor street flooding as well. So that's kind of the broad view of what's happening at this time in southeast Texas. Getting a new update here from the National Weather Service. Let me go ahead and quickly digest what they are saying as they're monitoring this as well. Let's see. A little bit of good news here. They believe that the storm is losing that lower level circulation that caused the tornado earlier. And so they might be dropping the tornado warning on this and just making it a severe thunderstorm warning again. That said, if that's the direction they go, this storm has a history of producing tornadoes, and so we still have to be on alert for the possibility that it may produce another tornado as it continues to move off to the east in toward Galveston County. So that's the latest from the National Weather Service. Kevin, are you seeing anything from your vantage point there in the Weather Center right now?
I would agree. It doesn't have that classic hook that we saw earlier when it had that tornado warning. Now, the warning is still there, but it's starting to lose some of that organization, and that is a good thing for us. This storm getting a little more ragged on the southern end. We're not seeing that classic hook shape. And then if you switch it over and look at velocity, again, you're not seeing that tight gate-to-gate shear. These are all signs that the rotation threat is going down. But as Travis mentioned, these storms pulse. We already saw this storm go through one tornado warning, lose its circulation, and then retighten up that circulation. So there still is something we have to watch. But so far, I like what I'm seeing as far as this storm is winding down.
Okay, so we're going to stay on top of this. David Tillman, it looks like you've got a new vantage point of a lowering in the clouds. What are you seeing and what road are you driving on right now?
Well, in the midst of us trying to reposition ourselves, yeah, we do see some low clouds on the backside. We're actually in that tail that you spoke of a little while ago where tornadoes typically don't form. And it appears that the business part of the storm is just to the east of Danbury. So we're traveling east right now on I believe it's Khyber Street, and which will eventually point us in the direction of going towards Hitchcock. So our goal is to get over towards the Hitchcock area, but we're going to have to do a little slicing and dicing to get there.
And that's your heads up in Hitchcock. If David Tillman is headed your way, that means the weather is also headed your way. So get ready for it there along the Highway 6 corridor. You're already getting the rain, maybe the rumbles of thunder, but the potential for severe weather will eventually materialize as well in that part of the storm. It is good news, though. We're seeing some encouraging signs, at least in the near term, that as this moves through some of the populated areas of central Brazoria County, that perhaps the threat of the tornado is diminishing. It still could throw down some gusty winds, still producing lots of lightning, heavy rain, in addition to some small hail, but perhaps the tornado part of this isn't going to be as significant as it rolls through this part of Brazoria County. So thank you, David, for that update, and continue to stay safe on the road there with your photographer, Matt Black. We appreciate the service that you're providing to our community. So we've got another 10 minutes to go until this tornado warning expires, and we shall see what the National Weather Service does. We're going to continue to live stream regardless of what they do. So we're on broadcast and live stream right now. The stream will continue whenever we come down from TV. So if you're interested in continuing to follow these storms along with us, you can do so at abc13.com or on the ABC 13 Houston News app, which is, I would say, the preferred way, because if you lose your satellite signal, if you lose internet access at the house, or you lose power, you're still going to be able to get our information through our smartphone app. You can take that anywhere in the house with you as well in case you need to seek out a safe place if the storm does end up coming your way. So to recap, we still have an active tornado warning that is in effect. It does appear that the worst of this has cleared out of Angleton. Still raining, still some lightning, but the part that could produce a tornado appears to have moved out. You're doing great now in West Columbia and Bonnie. You're still technically in that polygon for the warning, but the severe part of the storm has passed you by as well. Everything is moving off in an easterly direction towards the Highway 6 corridor, so from Santa Fe to Hitchcock, over towards Lamarck, Texas City, Tiki Island, Jamaica Beach, all of Galveston Island. You are going to be impacted by this storm. Will it be severe? Don't know, but it does look like this storm is trying to sustain itself, even though it appears to be in some sort of a reorganization phase at this time. So we're going to keep a watchful eye on this one and stay up on TV until we get an indication that the tornado threat for this particular storm has momentarily tamped down a little bit. And so that is what's happening south of Houston, south of Pearland. When we pull the view out, we are still seeing some active thunderstorms that have developed and are beginning to impact western part of Houston, Harris County. So from Katy to Cypress to Jersey Village, across the 290 corridor up towards the Woodlands and Conroe, a new wave of rain is upon you. Thankfully, it's disorganized, so it's going to make some noise. It's going to be briefly heavy, but for the time being, it looks like this will skirt through without any sort of severe weather. And then once that wave passes you by, that should be it for you north of the I-10 corridor. It's this other storm to the south of I-10 that we'll have to keep a very close eye on as it continues to have all of the warnings currently associated with it. Kevin, are you seeing anything new as you've been analyzing the storms from the Weather Center?
What I've been watching here is that second storm system that you were talking about that's growing. And just like we're watching this main storm because it's on the southern end, it's the southern end of that cluster that we need to watch as well. And right now, I'm not seeing anything there. And we can go ahead and zoom in on radar. I'm not seeing a lot on that southern end that worries me, but if we are going to see severe weather on that cluster of storms, it's roughly from Katy to the east that I'm looking at. So that's something we're going to be watching. But for now, it is not too alarming. We're keeping our eye on this tornado-warned storm and the severe thunderstorm back behind it.
Yeah, and Kevin, as I'm looking at rotation, our velocity rather, in the storm around Katy, not seeing any signs of rotation at this time, and so that's certainly some good news. We're seeing some brighter greens there, but we're not seeing the coupling, as we call it, of the reds and the greens together like we've been seeing in the storm down here. And even down here, we're losing a lot of that coupling, still seeing some broad areas of rotation, but nothing that catches the eye like it did when this storm was passing through Angleton. And so, yes, we still have these warnings in effect. This is still a dangerous storm. They go through cycles. We'll keep an eye on it in case it pulses back up to that place where it could produce more tornadoes. As it stands, that tornado warning will continue. Just got an update from the National Weather Service. Good news, they are going to cancel the tornado warning early. They are going to issue a larger severe thunderstorm warning along that line. And I imagine that's going to cover a big section of the Gulf Freeway, likely from just near Friendswood and League City southward through most of Galveston County, likely including Dickinson, Texas City, Lamarck, Galveston, the city of Galveston. I think all these are going to be included in this new warning that's about to come out. So again, good news. The Weather Service confirms what we are seeing on radar, and that is that we're losing the circulation that prompted the tornado warning. And so this is going to become a severe thunderstorm warning. So what we'll do is as soon as that new warning is issued, we'll give you the information here on TV, and then we'll come down from our TV broadcast, and you can continue to follow this on our live stream. And here it is. The new severe thunderstorm warning has just been issued. This is the warned area. It does include Santa Fe, Hitchcock, Texas City. It includes Lamarck, it includes Dickinson, San Leon, and it does include Alvin. You are also included in this as well. This severe thunderstorm warning continues. Hail or for the wind or for both. Kevin, do you see that information coming across?
We're looking at 60-mile-per-hour winds and hail in excess of 1 inch, so I do believe it's both.
Okay. And is there any tornado tag on that at the end of about a tornado possible?
Let's see. Give me 1 second.
Sure
here.
thing.
No mention of a tornado from what I'm seeing. It is the wind and the hail that we're looking for. Yeah, no talk of a tornado there.
Good. Still, though, with the wind and the hail, you want to take this storm seriously, but just know that the tornado threat for the time being appears to have diminished with this severe thunderstorm we've been tracking for hours on end now. It is bearing down on eastern Brazoria County, now impacting more and more of Galveston County. You are under that severe thunderstorm warning until 3:30 p.m. We will continue to keep you updated on our live stream at abc13.com and, of course, at the ABC 13 Houston News app. And if you have a connected TV, we have a whole new round of connected TV apps where you can continue to monitor our live stream. But if the power goes out, the smartphone is the way to go. I hope you have a safe Sunday afternoon. We'll continue to keep you updated, and our live newscast at 5:30 will get a full forecast update from Kevin Roth, because Wednesday into Thursday, we might be doing this all over again. We'll see you on the live stream.
This has been breaking news from ABC 13. For more information, head to abc13.com or open our ABC 13 News app.
Welcome back to our digital live stream. We have come down from broadcast now, and we are still monitoring this severe thunderstorm. It does have a history of producing a tornado as it went through the west side of West Columbia. Tornado on the ground for 2 minutes, confirmed by a trained storm spotter. And there's a new wave of storms entering Houston from the west, currently non-severe. We're going to get the latest updates on these storms from meteorologist Kevin Roth, and we're also going to get updates from David Tillman on his vantage point as he's in our storm tracker. And we have access to another storm spotter feed from Bob Pack. We're going to get to all of this as we continue on with this stream. Another big headline is the tornado watch has been extended. That should now say until 10 p.m. today. We'll get the information updated, but we still have the potential for some tornadoes here in southeast Texas. So let's go ahead and first get an update from David Tillman on his vantage point and what he is seeing as he travels towards Galveston County. And then, David, if you'll go ahead and toss it to Kevin Roth, he'll give us the full meteorological analysis from here in the ABC 13 Weather Center. David?
Okay, Travis, we have made the left turn and we're now heading east away from Highway 288. We're heading east on FM 2004. So we're heading in the general direction of the Hitchcock area and over towards Santa Fe as well. I believe we're about 20 miles from there, so we've got a ways to go. Just luckily, this road is just ahead of some extremely heavy rain that's out to the west of us. But with us being just ahead of that extremely heavy rain, we're in the updraft part of the storm. And the updraft part of the storm, you typically have some really dark clouds, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now. I think it was a good idea for the National Weather Service to drop the tornado warning. You're not seeing any signs of rotation. We're not seeing any signs of rotation either. And this is becoming more of a storm that has more of a heavy rain and lightning threat than a tornado threat. So what we're going to do, we're going to make our way up towards Highway 6. We're going to continue to watch this storm, and then we will more than likely head in a northerly direction to begin to track those storms that are entering the Houston area right now. If I remember correctly from all the information I saw last night and this morning before I left, the storms that are over Houston right now would then get stronger as they got to the other side of town and began to approach, say, places like Winnie, and as they begin to approach the Beaumont area from the west. So we will continue to watch this particular storm here for another 15 to 20 minutes or so. If we don't see anything reorganizing with this storm, then we're going to start to move in a northerly direction to points east of Houston to intercept those storms there. Kevin, last check that I took on the radar, this particular storm that I'm near just looks like a big old blob of rain, and that's a good thing. The storms that are over Houston, are they showing any signs of intensification towards possibly being tornadic?
They have been intensifying, but we haven't seen any rotation on that, and that's a great question. So let's talk about the overall look here. The main focus is that there are no active tornado warnings, but we still do have a tornado watch in place, and that's been extended until 10 p.m. That is for our farther east counties. When you talk about 10 p.m., most of this will be out of the area here in the next couple of hours. But there's now two sections of storms we have to watch. One is that storm farther south that got the tornado warning and that currently has a severe thunderstorm warning. The second part of this storm that we need to watch is farther north, approaching 45 from Conroe and going all the way down 45 towards Houston. Let's start by zooming in on this thunderstorm. This is the one that David is currently still chasing, and this is the storm that you can see in that live look. This is a severe thunderstorm warning until 3:30 for Brazoria and Galveston. This includes Alvin, Dickinson, and Texas City. Galveston is not technically included in this warning, but the general path here, all of these storms are moving east. So once it's out of this current warning, it will continue moving east and eventually move into and towards Galveston as well. Let's take a look at this storm for a little bit longer. We've got the lightning strikes there, but I'm going to go ahead and zoom back into it. Lightning is a key threat with this storm. We've seen a lot of lightning with it. There has been small hail as well, but despite how strong this storm is, we haven't seen that really large hail. So that is good news in this storm. Small hail is possible. And of course, gusty winds on the leading edge of this. You could see winds of 60 miles per hour. You could think you were in a tornado with some of these strong winds, but there are currently no tornado warnings active. I do want to zoom really quick, talk about that tornado watch that's in effect. We've seen our counties to our west. Those have been dropped from the watch. If you are along and north of Harris County and to the east, that tornado watch has been extended until 10 p.m. So that is the very latest on the tornado watch. I want to dig back into these storms here and take a look at where we're seeing the greatest threat and where we're seeing the new storms firing up. So this is still your severe thunderstorm. That is still the strongest storm. But farther north, this is now the storm that a lot of people are starting to hear or starting to feel. And this stretches from Katy all the way in towards Houston and then lifts up north. You're talking Hockley, Cypress, Jersey Village, Tomball, the Woodlands all included. Conroe, just clearing Montgomery, but into Lake Conroe and Willis. There are no indications at this point that these are severe storms. If we're going to see intensification here, I'd expect that to be on the southern end. But even this portion of the storm doesn't look that impressive. I haven't seen any rotation with it. Let's go ahead really quick and look at hail with this section of the storm, and that's great news. I'm not seeing our radar indicate that there's any hail there. And we can look at rotation as well, just to make sure we're not seeing any strong rotation. And you see those bright greens. If those were next to bright reds, that would be indicative of rotation. But when you just have those greens, that means strong winds, and that's what you would expect with a thunderstorm of this magnitude. So that is all good news on that front, that I am not anticipating widespread severe weather. The other good thing to note about these storms that are farther north is that these are associated with the front. So once these storms clear you, once these storms move to the east, it is very likely that you are done for the day and that you're done for the night. That's why they've dropped that tornado watch in all of the counties west of this line of storms. So if you are in these storms, or if you have already cleared them, if you are west of these storms like Navasota, like Hempstead, like Sealy, you are very likely in the clear for the remainder of the night. These storms will continue to move east, and we'll try to put a track on this. It's very ragged, so trying to track out a line like this isn't going to be exact. But just to give you a general idea, we'll kind of grab the leading edge of this and we'll track it off to the east and northeast at about 20 to 25 miles per hour. And these are the areas that will be next impacted. The Woodlands just now starting to see those storms. I do expect that will increase as they get into the heavier rain and some more of the lightning back behind that. Areas like Spring, Porter Heights, Kingwood, and Cleveland, all, if this holds together, and I expect it will, they'll be seeing the rain, hearing the thunder, and seeing the lightning as well fairly shortly. Travis, do you have anything to add there? Nope. Okay, we'll keep going here. I do want to get back into the main thunderstorm. This is the severe thunderstorm warning. This does go until 3:30, so we still have 25 minutes of this warning. It is for Brazoria and Galveston. There's nothing new here as far as any rotation, but that's something that we're constantly looking for. Is it rotating, and are we seeing large hail? This storm is warned for the potential for hail, but I'm currently not seeing any of that. So there's good news in that storm. Lightning, to me, is the primary threat. This is a prolific lightning maker. So, of course, if you are in this warning or if you are east of this warning, the key takeaway is don't go outside. Stay inside, and you can stay safe from a storm like this. So that's the key idea. I'm also keeping in touch with the National Weather Service here. There is no new information on these storms, so we're all in a wait and see. We're all just monitoring this storm. And that's good news. No news in terms of the National Weather Service is generally good news. So we're going to watch these storms as they continue to move east. I would say Texas City likely just now getting into that heavier rain. Following that is going to be the lightning and potentially some small hail as well. We also have David Tillman, and I'm not sure if he can hear me, but it looks like it's raining pretty good where he was. David, what are you seeing right now?
Well, we've made a change of course there, Kevin. We were heading in the general direction of Hitchcock, but I don't think this particular thunderstorm cell is going to regenerate into anything that might produce a tornado. So what we've decided to do is head north We're going to be making a pit stop here in about 10 minutes or so to get some gas and whatnot. And then we're going to try to intercept the tail end of that line that's entering Houston on the other side of Houston. Based on all the information that I had seen this morning and yesterday, there's a decent chance that these storms might intensify, especially once they got to the other side of Houston and moving in the general direction of where we know there's going to be a big tornado outbreak later today in Louisiana and Mississippi. So I think what we want to do is regroup and then head in the direction of those storms that are entering into Houston, thinking that once they got to the other side of Houston, they might encounter a more favorable environment for something severe to happen. Luckily, we just drove out of our last extremely heavy rain band, so things should begin to calm down here in just a little bit. But of course, with a vehicle this size, we've been driving around for hours and hours, and it doesn't take a lot of time driving a vehicle with this size with all the equipment that we have on it for it to need a little drink of gas, and so we'll be doing that in about 5 to 10 minutes or so.
Stay safe. Much. Let's take a look at these storms that David is headed toward. So he is leaving this southern cell that still has that severe thunderstorm warning, and he is driving farther north into this next batch. The overall idea for severe weather for today is that the farther north and east you go away from Houston, the more likely we are to see a severe weather outbreak. So that's why he's tracking these storms, because as they continue to march east across 45, it is likely that they'll get into an environment that's more conducive to thunderstorms and to severe weather. So he's driving to catch up and get behind these storms, especially those on the southern edge. You're seeing that southern edge right now around Jersey Village. So he's going to drive up, try and catch the tail end of that. We're still looking for any rotation there, but currently not seeing any, and that is good news. Also still seeing some redevelopment back behind this. So we're not quite done. You see the tail end of this storm on Jersey Village. As it moves east, it's still building back a little bit south and west towards Katy. So that environment is still ripe. We are still seeing at least some development in that area. But the key takeaway is these are not severe thunderstorms. These are garden variety storms. And this, for a lot of folks, is some much needed rain as well. We'll take one more look down at that severe thunderstorm farther south. Remember, this warning goes until 3:30, and I wouldn't be surprised if they continue this one more round a little bit farther east. But, you know, you look at the lightning strikes here at this radar loop, and you really can see it is winding down pretty significantly. At the beginning of this radar loop, it is just lit up with all of these lightning strikes, and by the end of it, the lightning strikes are way down. In fact, let's go ahead and look here at the amount of strikes that we're currently seeing. We'll run a query on this because I would imagine it is significantly less than the baseline you had earlier, Travis. That was 535 or 545? Yeah, about 550. So we'll look at this storm, and it went from 550 to 48. Yeah, that's a pretty significant downswing here. So not only is this storm losing that rotation, the reason why it got the tornado warning, but it's also losing the severe aspect as well.
Yeah, if anyone in Galveston County was praying for this storm to weaken, your prayers have been answered, it appears. We're seeing confirmation in the lightning count, the